Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dyslexic Defenders versus Barnacle Boy Club. And we are joined with our analysts, Returned, Kaochin, and Dylan today. How are you guys doing?
Hey, what's
Hey,
up,
I'm good.
everybody? That's a good start. I'm good. I'm good. How's everybody else?
I am
Mud,
also doing pretty well.
doing pretty
Nice.
good. Surviving, ready for some season 4. Risen Dominate. Should be a good match.
Woo! I can't wait to see some quality League of Legends gameplay unfold before our eyes.
This is the first rainy day we've had in like 2 weeks.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, dude.
So,
It's
what are your
always
guys' predictions for tonight? Who do you
um
think's gonna take it away?
I'm gonna have to go strong with DYS.
2-1 or
Considering
2-0? What do you think's
it'll
gonna?
be a 2-0 DYS.
2-0.
no, I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go the other way. I'm gonna say 2-0 in favor for the Barnacle Boy Club. Oh no, wait,
I'm
no. I take that back. It's DD. It's DD the whole way. DYS.
I'm a little biased myself, but I think it'll be 2-1 in DYS favor. I think it'll be game 1 loss, but then game 2 and 3 the reverse sweep. I'm calling it right now. It's gonna happen.
The
The script is
reverse.
set.
The Risen script is gonna unfold
Yeah.
before
The
our eyes.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me though has to be the Silver 2 bot laner for Barnacle Boy Club, who's also a Lucian one trick. Now I understand. I mean, the support usually seen as like the least important role, but that definitely is a huge point of attack. I mean, if you're looking through the OPGGs right now, if you're dyslectic, you gotta be thinking hit the bot lane hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb. The fact that not only is it a silver player in a gold plat league, but the fact that they're off role. I mean, most of their most played champions are ADCs, by far Lucian most played. I mean, it just seems like it has to be something that DYS exploits because
Mhm.
otherwise the rest of the team is very strong.
And if we are stacking the odds in DYS's favor, the 80 carry for DYS Percy 1803 is currently sitting at Platinum 1 with a 55% win rate, which is currently the highest elo of the players in this game.
Yeah. Percy is an insane 80 carry. When he gets on a comfort champion, especially the champions that Kid likes to play, his support, he takes over games really easily.
Mhm.
So definitely would not surprise me to
Though I
see
do
him.
I do want to put some points back over to Barnacle Boys Club though, because for a little bit of housekeeping for all you guys back at home, we are on that 8.10 patch. The jungle is just a huge question mark, and if you're thinking about what rails do have some levels, some ranking discrepancies, we do have the Platinum 2 jungler for Barnacle Boys Club, Don't Let Me Die, versus the Gold 5 jungler out of Albino. Maybe that's what Barnacle Boy Club can actually use to get an advantage. Advanced knowledge of what the heck the jungle has turned into nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the jungle, while its impact on the overall game, it's a little lower for sure, but
Mhm.
it's definitely important. The jungle difference in terms of rank is huge this game.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like I don't see a situation where "Don't Let Me Die" can actually generate an advantage in any of the given lanes. There's the well, other than mid lane is relatively even, but the top laner for BBC Ho hasn't How or Heau, however you would pronounce that, hasn't played a ranked game in like 3 weeks before today.
So it's going to
Yeah,
be a whole to fight out of. But even so, with the 8.10, I mean, you do get the Rift Scudlers coming out through. And maybe that's not going to be able to deny away a lot out of any one of these lanes. But if these lanes can at least hold on and you have a big discrepancy in the jungle, like you're able to put the other guy 20 CS behind, you do have a chance. And I mean, there are some of these picks coming out for these roles, mid lane, top lane, especially, where you can kind of hide the true ranking of your player if you grab something like the Talia, if you grab something like the mid laner, grab something like the Ryze, even if you're a mid laner, you don't really need that much skill just to get a push going.
yeah. Lane priority, especially mid lane and even bot lane, is really important right now. Mid laners that shove wave like Aurelion, like Talia, like Karma, things like that, those are just top of the priority list because just the pressure that they can put with the mid jungle 2v2 and how important Scuttle is just insane. You get so far ahead as jungler if you can just get all those Scuttles.
What do you think the predictions are in terms of bringing Smite mid? That's been rising in popularity lately.
I I have to say I am not really a fan of it. I think it's a little bit more on the cheesy side. I don't really know of any professionals who are still doing outside of Shifter when he really brought it to light, but sure, it's always great to have that extra gold, that extra XP that does come if you go roam out of lane and grab the Sculler buff, but you have to keep in mind what you're actually giving up in response for it. If you're giving up a teleport, you're giving up that free back in the early game. If you're giving up Ignite, you're giving up a lot of kill pressure. And even with Exhaust and Heal, that sometimes if you're the one taking the smite, rather, you're giving your direct lane opponent some actual advantage in the lane. It'd have to be a really well thought through, really coordinated plan, and I just don't see it paying off, especially at this level.
Yep, definitely. It makes complete sense. It's something that you need to put a lot of forethought into, and even then, it's still kind of lackluster when you compare it to just the standard summoner spells, Ignite, TP, Heal Barrier, something like that. Those are just so much easier to execute on, and at this elo bracket, you definitely want things that are easy to execute on, because leaving it up to hard, difficult comps and strats to execute on is just not something that's reliable.
I mean, keep it simple, stupid is really the philosophy you have to live by at this level. Good, solid team fighting is basically what you live or die on at this range of play. But, I mean, we are still in that second week of play. We do see BBC coming now off of a 1-0 week, whereas DYS, they are already one game down. Sure, it is a very long 12-week season, but you got to start fighting back at some point.
Well, we're going to have to see. It looks like that the teams are ready, so we're going to head on over to our casters, and good luck, guys.
Wait, but they're supposed to do pick bans.
Alright, so we just chill here, we talk about the game, whatever. Why is... Oh, yeah, that's right, because we're not in the... There it is.
Yeah, so blue side, we do see BBC on blue side and DYS on the red side. Blue side bans, yeah, okay, Lux first ban.
You're already seeing a lot of focusing mostly towards individual players on the blue side, and the blue side bans, you don't really have to ban what's meta, you just have to ban what you don't want to first pick. And the Kaisa, I mean, she's been rising in popularity a lot, but that Ezreal ban away is going to limit the ADC options in this game. But first pick of the Trundle.
Yeah, for sure, Trundle's a strong pick right now. It is easily countered. Oh, okay, Warwick surprises me. Graves is up, Kindred is up, both two champions that Don't Let Me Die does play, and those do go well into the Trundle, but Warwick is the choice.
They're going to focus a lot more on maybe the easier to execute junglers. Sure, Graves, great at that early game clear, but I mean, Warwick, as long as you are able to get to that first back, pick up the, not Runans, but the Tiamat, you're able to actually clear away pretty fast. But ADC already picked up for Bomboy Club, so that's actually going to be a response of a hella aggressive bottom lane now for DYS, both the Caitlyn and the Karma.
Yeah, Kate Karma is a very oppressive bottom lane. It is the exact prototype of a bottom lane you want right now. A bottom lane that has priority, that has shove, and can assist the jungler in early dragons, early scuttles, early invades, things like that, especially against a weak laner like Tristana.
Yeah, certainly so. And do remember, it is the support for Barnacle Boy Club that we have been a little bit critical of so far, is the lowest ranked member of the squad. So could turn into that priority, just gank bot lane scenario that we were talking about. That being said, bot lanes do get locked in for both sides now, plus the junglers. This leaves open the top lane and the mid lane. And is that a Mordekaiser ban?
Yeah, Umbria has a very unique champion pool, to put it lightly. Mordekaiser, Yorick, those are champions that, while seemingly troll for a lot of people, those are his bread and butter, and those champions are some of his most respected champions. So those are banned pretty often against him.
And moving back towards this top lane, the Mordecai's, just like you said, the Swain, the Camille already being banned away. Orin is still on the board, but with Barnacle Boy Club actually picking up that Brawn pick, it'd be really hard for the dyslexics to get that one really rolling. So maybe something more along the lines of a split pushy champion, even if they really want to go that way.
Yeah, certainly so. We'll see what DYS bans as their last ban. Probably going to be targeted towards that top lane, maybe the mid lane.
They just don't ban.
Nope. They
Somewhere?
probably will type what it was, and then we'll be notified. But yeah, for now, my guess is that it's aimed towards the top lane. There weren't too many mid laners to be banned away
Mhm. I mean,
from the side of Arcaneer.
There's still quite a few mid laners up and available who are what we call quote unquote meta, but I mean, especially since you nowadays have the Lost chapter built into every single every single item you can possibly think of in that mid lane, you can take a lot of different mid laners, but that's going to leave the mid lane counter pick for the red side for Barnacle Boys Club. Is that a response, Nasus, to the Irelia? I have not seen this response yet.
I wouldn't be too sure. There was a couple games of Irelia where mid were played at the semifinals of MSI over the weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that flexed either way.
Yeah, definitely. There is a little bit of difference, of course, between the MSI players and the players you see before you. But, however, it's not out of the question. I will grant you that. And, I mean, how much more split push can you actually get than Nasus? He just wants to stack the entire time, doesn't care about the team. It is just a PvE matchup up there.
Yeah, Umbria, his Nasus is definitely up there in his top 3 best champions. Mordekaiser, Yorick, Nasus are his trifecta of champions in the Zillion mid lane. In
Ooh.
response, probably a blind pick Zillion, because I think it's safe to assume Irelia will most likely be top, but we'll see what Arcaneer plays in response if it is an Irelia top and he still needs to choose. Veigar is the pick. All right.
Ooh.
Late game scaling coming out of both sides here, as we do have our final pick and ban lineups for both DYS and BBC as they get ready now for game number 1. I can't tell you the last time I have seen not only a Nasus, but a Zillion versus Veigar matchup in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little worried for the side of DYS that they're a little lackluster on the 5v5 damage. Nasus is easily kited, especially with Braum, with Veigar stun. Zillion's not exactly known for his damage, more so the utility and the ultimate. And Caitlyn, I mean, at certain points in the game, she goes through a little bit of a trough, whereas Tristana keeps ramping up, keeps coming online. So I'm a little worried for the side of DYS that they might be a little lackluster in the damage department.
Exactly. Let's head around the desk real quick, see what all the other reactions are, and who would like to take over next? Give us the hot takes. Bestow on us your knowledge.
I still would. I'm still putting my money on DYS to take this game. I think the Caitlyn Karma lane priority might actually be enough to be the tipping point for this game and allow Nasus and Zillion the time to ramp up and become effective at the later stages.
I definitely have to agree. And personally, I do like to go back now to that bottom lane of the Caitlyn plus Karma, because I'm very hard pressed to think of a better team fighting duo when it comes to just ADC support duos. You guys bring up a great point about that 2-item trough. You've got to go from the first item, come out the other end of that trough on the third item. And that could be a point where Barnacle Boy Club does start to take over. But I see right now, especially between the Zillion and Trundle, there are enough early to mid-game tools to set up these ganks, set up the rotations, even set up some of the tower taking between the Caitlyn and the Nasus as well, to maybe extend them over that trough. But, I mean, if they're going to get stuck somewhere, it's going to be stuck in that 2-item area. And, I mean, getting into a late-game duel between anyone on DYS versus the BBC team that consists of a Tristana and the Veigar, I don't even want to think about it right now.
And I wouldn't put it past BBC to manage to take this game. That was a first rotation Tristana, so there has to be some level of confidence that they have in their bot lane to pull that off.
Yeah, certainly. Blind pick Tristana, Caitlyn's up. Kaisa was banned, but Kaisa, Ezreal were the only 2 ADCs taken off the board, and instantly Sarah goes towards the Tristana, so probably a lot of comfort there for her. It was her most played, and she's got a very nice win rate on it, so does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, well, we will have to see how both these teams actually do start to stack up against each other. Jungle matchup certainly going to be very interesting as well. But remember, guys, this is only game number 1 here at the Risen Esports Dominate Series. Week number 2. Got to see who's going to be able to take this game number 1 win Till then, I think we're going to be sending it over to a short break, if I am not mistaken. Maybe. I may be mistaken. Who knows?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Just a few seconds longer. Now, here's a question I want to pose to the rest of you guys. Rather, we've definitely seem to be pulling a little bit more for DYS. Let's flip it around. BBC, how do they come out with the win here?
I
In
think
my
they
opinion,
roll-
you go.
I think they roll around that. I think they roll that top side. Warwick should be able to match and power farm match Trundle and power farm to 6, but Irelia should be able to put a lot of the bullying onto Nasus early on. And even in the personally haven't had much experience with new Irelia versus Nasus, but the way the old one went was in those early up to level 6, level 7 levels, you could really put the hurt on him if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, for sure. Irelia has great gank setup with that stun, especially post 6. Irelia is pretty dominant in this matchup, especially if you get the Warwick pressure, you get a level lead, you get a CS lead, things like that. This game can snowball from the top side. Nasus is known as that kind of feast or famine pick. You either get so strong that nobody can match you and you just win off that, or you're so behind that it's just pointless for picking Nasus, and it feels really bad having him because he does nothing. He just gets kited into oblivion and dies. So I do think that that's probably the strongest point of contention for BBC, especially in the early game. But I do think that DYS's bottom lane, it needs to be responded to well from BBC because Caitlyn Karma's just going to have the inherent pressure over Tristana Braum in the early game.
Exactly. And guys, you've heard it all here, right here on Risen Esports. Make sure you guys let us know who at home you think will be walking away with the victory. Will it be DYS here on the blue side or BBC on the red? But guys, that has been all from me and my fellow casters here on the analyst desk. Make sure you guys stay tuned as Eldwise and Shady Gecko start off our cast for game number 1. Stick around. We'll be back at you guys just a little bit later. Stay tuned.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the soon-to-be starting first game of second week of Risen Dominate League. This is a long introduction. We have Dyslexic Defenders against Barnacle Boy Club. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. Shady, you got any idea how to pronounce that?
It is dyslectic Denefnetters.
Def-
Denefnetters.
I'll call them DYS, okay, guy?
You can call them DYS for short.
I call them DYS. Yeah. As we're loading to this first game, part of this, the game that was not seen on stream due to how the League client works, we have the keystones for each ability, for each champion. Now, let's go on the side of DYS. On top lane, we have the Grasp with the Undying for Nasus, Press the Attack for Trundle, Airy for Zillion, Fleet Footwork for Caitlyn, and another Airy for Karma.
Okay, and on the other side, we have Conqueror, Aurelia, Press the Attack, Warwick, Arcane Comet, Vagar, Fleet Footwork, Tristana, and Guardian Braum. Pretty standard all around for the keystones, but would you like to introduce our blue side?
Yeah, on the blue side, for our first game for our blue side, we have Dyslexic Defenders. All right, I nailed that. We have Umbria in the top lane, Draconic 70 on Trundle in the jungle, the OG Josh on Zillion, Percy 1803 on Caitlyn, and Crown Me Kid on Karma.
All right, and on the red side, for the side of BBC, we have Hyo on Irelia, Don't Let Me Die on Warwick, Arcaneer on Vagar, Seratric Shot on Tristana, and Shreddermen's 57 on Braum. Absolutely shredded there in his winter outfit.
All right, and as we're starting in, we see some pretty standard setups come in from both sides. Of course, to note, this is going to be an exciting game. The first game in Dominates on the new patch where jungle is thrown up in the air, all wild. Everybody fighting over Rift Sculler.
Now, I really like that, DYS were able to get in there and put that ward down. A little interesting that BBC didn't do the 5-point start to kind of block that ward coming down, because Trundle's going to have the advantage now here for getting his path. He can kind of see where Warwick's going to be going.
Yeah, definitely. He sort of just walked in without any sort of interruption. The Veigar was just sort of standing in lane. Meanwhile, counterpart Zillion was actually standing in the brush near the river where you could catch a counter invade if need be. Also interesting, I think it was Trundle who bought a pink ward rather than additional pots.
Now, I actually really like that, because Trundle has a decently healthy clear. So he's going to be able to, he got that vision down in the river. He's able to kind of clear safely and see if the Warwick is coming down for those all-important Scuttle Crabs. But on that note, the all-important Scuttle Crabs are actually, the first ones are not quite nearly as important as the last. They're worth the same pretty much as a Gromp. So if you go, hang on, we got to fight in the bot lane.
Got an early fight coming on. Crown Me Kid gets the root and stun comes back onto Crown Me Kid. So both supports are
Nice.
CC'd up. Forced to flash out of Sharma. Ignite is enough to tick down, and that was a very early first blood coming out for DYS.
Yeah, just not
Little bit of
respecting
disrespect
that Karma, with the flash ignite down. He didn't even use exhaust, so just really unfortunate. Probably thought, you know what, I'm out. I might as well save it since.
Ooh, and
here we
Vade
go,
found the
another
Warwick
fight.
onto Trundle, and now that Warwick has the pressure, gets the as well for some more experience, gets the fear down. However, the Zillion is over. Does not get the stun. Doesn't matter. The Warwick finishes off the kill, and Warwick wants more blood. The Zillion is out of mana, so Warwick can keep on going, slashing. Gets the additional attack speed out of flash, so it's a very, very good start.
Yeah, and that Warwick, took down that control ward. So I assume the Trundle knew he was there, but just thought he could get that blue buff down in time. Definitely a difficult start for this Trundle now, losing his entire topside jungle to that Warwick. It looks like he's going to try to come back here, which, you really just want to kind of leave it and say, you know what, this is gone. Let me go get these golems, get them reset. Because the golems also have a 50%, experience reduction on their first clear. So you want to get those popping back up as soon as possible now that are even more valuable than they used to be as one of the premier experience and gold camps.
Definitely. Now, honestly, when it comes to this early game, this is a very hectic early game by any standards. An early kill for a bot side, however, that goes over to Karma, so I would put the advantage overall over to the side of, Barnacle Boy Club. Getting that work early means that it'll be even harder for these Jammers to go. I was gonna say that Umbra gets stunned up, as well as the forcing the flash. Here doesn't land from the work, and he gets out safely.
Yeah, well played by the Nasus to get out of there. Warwick gank using that fear. If he'd gotten that off, that Nasus is donezo even with the flash.
At the same time, it has to say that there's a lack of coordination between the top and the jungler, because if Warwick channeled that fear earlier, he could have gotten a perfect stun setup. Now, that might not have translated to a kill, but would have gotten more damage guaranteed.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I like your point about, the 2 kills and getting the kill onto the Warwick, especially with these, jungle, with the scuttle being so much more important, especially later on. The team that's snowballing kind of has that extra advantage. So when you have that snowball on the Warwick, who's a very strong early jungler, hopefully he'll be able to snowball that to more scuttles, more gold, more experience for his team.
Definitely. Oh, we also have to know the fact that when Zillion came to gank, he ended up being forced out lane himself, so that early advantage got translated to mid lane where Veigar is already 10 CS up.
Yeah, definitely a good point. And something else to mention is the gold, is even right now, but the Warwick is already level 4. Trundle just hit level 4. I expect Warwick to hit level 5 shortly. So hopefully he can keep that going, get that level 6, and just continue to gank those lanes and try to get pressure across the map.
Yeah. This is an interesting part because of the new Rift Scholar changes. After the first Rift Scholar, as I say, the heal almost dies in the end, and however Umber gets one last Q. That was very, very close. Don't Let Me Die just comes in, cleans up. No, just a little management in the top lane.
Clean up crew.
Clean up crew right there. Crummy Kid ends up getting stunned up by a perfect attack. Gets reset on the jump as well. However, Sir Trickshot Mind Undying jumps back out.
Oh, well played.
Very well played by Sir Trickshot to know the limits. That was perfect buffering as well. There was 4 stacks on the explosive shot from Tristana. At the same time, there were 3 stacks of Brahms concussive blows. So when you jump in, Crummy Kid was not expecting that huge burst of damage from the explosive shot, and the concussive blows to just proc at the same time.
Right, and I mentioned earlier that Shredderman didn't use his exhaust when he died, but then was able to use that exhaust to save his AD carry's life by making it so that Percy wasn't doing nearly as much damage. So, losing the support's life to save your AD carry and get the kill onto him ended up being a plus side. So
Definitely
those little things that seem like mistakes at first can end up being positives if you play them right.
Funny thing is, Sir Trickshot is still down gold right now because down 20 CS, while Percy is up, an assist. It's not much, but it's enough to grant him a 100 gold lead.
Yeah, that CS is definitely helping them out bot lane. So that's something, there's all these little advantages across the map in different positions, and it's how the teams can kind of communicate that to each other and leverage those strengths.
Definitely a game of inches as Don't Let Me Die will die as he uses ult, try to get it out. Uses Smite on Dragon as well, to no avail as he ends up dying in the end. However, the fight keeps breaking out. Draconic's in the bad position, forced to just run away, while Crummy Kid is forced to flash over the wall, found himself in the Dragon Pit. A little bit of skirmishing up in the top lane between top laners, because those are champions in the top lane. He was actually very low. Umbria popped that ult. He forced to pop his own ult. Keep Umbria inside that little chain of swords.
Chain of swords.
Vanguard's edge.
Let's see.
It's a really cool looking.
So Nasus is already at 114 stacks. He's going to be a monster this game. We were talking about before we went to live that the speed ups from Zillion and Karma are going to be really big for getting that Nasus in there and getting that Trundle in there to put those pillars down, get that ult off, and try to just harass the backline. But on the flip side, the Veigar has a really good way of kind of shutting that down by throwing that stun wall down and making it so they can't really run in. So on the side of DYS, they're going to have a hard time starting those fights if Veigar is able to interrupt them. But if they can get those Zillion speed-ups and the Karma speed-ups to go in and kind of flank from the side or from Fog of War, they're going to have the advantage.
Definitely. So I think it'll be mostly up to the Trundle and the Nasus to just sort of be in positions where Barnacle Boy Club doesn't expect them to be, where they can just sort of navigate around the Veigar cage. Now, speaking of this Nasus, as I say, that Warwick comes in for a repeat gank. Deja Vu gets the stun down. However, OG Josh, he is level 6, level 7, has the ultimate now and will not let his jungler die a second time.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication there. The Zillion should have been saying, go in, you know, I've got you ulted, you're good to go. And he uses the pillar to kind of distance himself from the Warwick, and that ends up being in the Warwick's favor.
Definitely to Warwick's favor as well, since this time this Rift Scaler decides to spawn on the top side. Now, Warwick controls all the top side jungle. He can get the Rift Scaler at his own leisure.
And that's one of the really unfortunate things about the Scuttle, I think, is that, you know, you don't really know which side it's going to come up on. I know Riot have been talking about one of the changes they could make to that. They're not going to go back to the 2 Scuttle, most likely, but they are thinking about making it alternate between top side, bot side, top side, bot side.
And definitely, Riot has been criticized on bringing in more RNG to the game.
Yeah, and the big thing about it is if that RNG somehow favors your good side or, you know, favors their good side all the time, that can be really unfortunate, even more so than the Dragon RNG.
Definitely. Now, as we talk about Dragon RNG, Don't Let Me Die is soloing Dragon right now. This is completely unworded by side of DYS, so he'll get this for free. No questions asked.
Yeah, and that's just kind of, you know, see the Trundle's falling to the Scuttle distraction because he's saying, you know, I need to go up and get that Scuttle because it's worth so much in the opinion of a lot of players right now.
And now you lose the Dragon.
And
it's going up, gets the pillar down, perfect pillar to stop Hugh from running away. However, Vanguard's edge keeps nothing down as Umbria finished off the kill. Ooh, almost sliced the turret, but that game of inches is all he needs.
Yeah, really well done by the Trundle. Say, you know what, the Dragon is just taking bot side. There's no chance we're getting countered on this dive up top. Playing that well, getting that Nasus even farther ahead.
Now, speaking
but
of
as I was saying, I was saying beforehand, the Trundle.
Ooh, Don't Let Me Die really wants to go for this. Ooh, great flash by Umbria to get him out. Now, Don't Let Me Die, my end dying channels his Q through a minion, so he gets a little bit more distance, and it's enough to get him out.
Yeah, nice Q by the Warwick to kind of dodge out of there. One of the things, you know, if you don't play Warwick that you don't really realize playing with him is that he can see you out of Fog of War with his passive because it shows kind of a more red zone where if you stand still, so he can kind of ult from Fog of War and catch you during your back if you nail it.
It's actually really cool ability.
Some people will be like, "Oh, I was standing on a ward," and I'm like, "Nope, you were just, you know, standing still for too long."
I really want to see this Trundle keep the pressure up in the top lane because out of all these lanes, Umbria on the Nasus is the only one that's actually truly winning in the lane. You know, Surge Extra has caught up in CS more or less to a point where she is up in gold, and it's up to this Nasus to win top lane, snowball that lead in the other lanes, and you know, just sort of play their advantage.
Yeah, and on the side of BBC, they have, you know, a couple juggernauts. Brahm's sort of a tank, but he's a support, so he's not going to have a ton of gold for those big tanky items. So Nasus is really going to be able to shred through people, and if he can get to that point where he's, you know, one-shot queuing the AD carry, then he could, in a 5v5, he's going to have the peel and the extra damage from his team to really mess them up, especially with the shields from Karma and the ultimate from Zillion, keeping him alive, keeping him speedy. Going to be able to chase down anyone. So I agree with you there that the Trundle needs to prioritize that top side, get that Rift Herald, just keep smashing down the top side, keeping that Aurelia down.
Definitely. Now, it looks like this Nasus is deciding to go for the Trinity Force build, not going for a more tanky, you know, Iceborne Gauntlet-oriented build.
Yeah, and I like that. He's got the Klepto for the... Oh, he doesn't have Klepto.
Dukramika just gets caught up by the Braum ultimate, however, it's not enough as flash outs, and that's actually positive for the side of DYS flash for flash trader between supports as well as the ultimate from Shredderman. So that Hugh gets ganked once again from topside. They are not letting up as they should not. Karmi Kid is in a terrible position as a Surge Truck shot, but Surge Truck shot is on a trap. It gets one shot. Umbria's underneath the tower, gets taken down as baited in by the Veigar. Don't Let Me Die is down bot lane, tries to go for a kill on Krabby Kid, does not have his ult and therefore cannot finish the kill. And great turnaround by Percy to finish off Shredderman. Now Don't Let Me Die is the one that has a runner back. This is a convoluted fight. I think it was overall 1 for 3.
Well done there, guessing that. But you know, it's funny. DYS are basically doing exactly what we've been saying. Oh, hey, they should be doing this, and they've been doing it. You know, keeping that bot side kind of healthy. I mean, BBC kind of made a couple plays that could have gone really well for them, but ended up being too risky, and they're paying for it. But they're also crashing down that top side. Meanwhile, the Veigar does a good job of getting up there and kind of shutting down that Nasus. So the Veigar being 30 farm and a kill ahead of the Zillion, if the game goes too long, he could also be a really big threat for BBC.
Definitely. Now, that being said, Zillion does not need as much gold as Veigar to be effective. Veigar does have his passive, however, you know, the biggest use of Zillion is to keep his carries alive, not to be the carry himself.
Right.
And in this case, I mean, as I say that, he is down 40 CS, down a kill, that's down almost 1,000 gold at this point. It's just getting out of hand.
Wow, that is quite a lot of gold.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Wow, I did not realize it was that much. Yeah, so I think now that the Nasus is kind of popping off, you got to get that tower. Oh, here we go. There's a big fight.
Oh, and a 2v2 fight on top lane. Both junglers, and they're, you know, focused down Umbria, but he has a tanky Nasus, and that Nasus has what, 300 stacks at this point? 290. That's close enough. 300 extra damage, and the only way I realize is that that's a big Nasus. Gotta get out there. He can just take down this turret at this point if he really wants to. This is a 3v2. Focusing on Q once again, dodging all around, but Aurelia dies in the end. Nerfed too heavily. The only way he goes in, try to slow down DYS, but it's not enough. That is a big hit from Umbria. Umbria just going at it. It has the Zillion ults. That is exactly what they needed to do.
He took out a quarter of Warwick's health in one Q.
16 minutes. That was a 5-2. Zero Nasus, 300 stacks. Just getting out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, the Veigar is really their last hope on BBC's side. Although the Tristana could also scale, being, you know, she'll get more range than Caitlyn by late game, but she's got to get to that point. The Caitlyn's got an affinity edge already to Tristana's static Shiv, so Caitlyn's going to be pushing these turrets down. Smart by DYS to go and get this Rift Herald right now while they have the momentum. You know, they're getting the bot turret. Now we want to see them take down the mid turret for that lawnmower kind of style. You get all the outers, all the inners, and then all the inhib turrets.
Yeah. Now, Rift Herald was the change in last patch, so it's, you know, quote-unquote old news, but that change was big, really big change, where Rift Herald deals at least 1,500 damage, no matter how low its health is.
It's a huge priority. I would say it is definitely up there with the power of a dragon, depending on the type of dragon. I'm not going to speculate on which one, you know, it's more valuable than, but being able to get one, maybe even two, even three on a big play turrets is huge for your team.
This is the second Mountain Drake for the side of BUC. As I say, Archneer is getting caught out a little bit by the constant slows, and the smite coming down from Draconic is enough to finish him off. Just ran it down like they should. You know, the combination of Crummy Kid's speed up and Draconic's slow down.
Now, I want to point out that the Trundle, instead of opting for that Skirmisher Saber, he goes for the Stalker's Blade to have even more CC for his team, play more of a support kind of tank style. I like that he's building the Zeke's Convergence for that huge Caitlyn right now. Even if he wants to, he could put it on the Nasus and, you know, cause the Nasus's Qs to be doing even more damage and slowing the enemy.
You know, whoever is your carry now. Nasus just looks down to his junglers like, who's your carry now? I'm trying to do a Schwarzenegger. I can't do it.
Who's your carry? No, that's terrible. Maybe if I had a sample.
Honestly, I do like the pick up of that Zeke's Convergence as well, because Zeke's Convergence normally does magic damage, and there is definitely a lack of magic damage on the side of DYS. No, it's not. You don't really look to a Karma support and a Zillion to do magic damage. I say Rift Herald has been summoned. I'm trying to do the snowball trick now.
You know, they traded for one turret. I'm sure they were hoping for more, but with Caitlyn bot lane, they can't push that quite as hard as they would like. Oof.
Yeah. I'll say that's good enough trades for now.
All right, so what can BBC do to stop this 5K gold lead from snowballing to a further point?
I think Hugh. It's difficult when you have a fit Nasus to fight against. You know, on
It
one
really
hand,
is.
you want to support Hugh so he doesn't lose any further. On the other hand, trying to fight an Nasus, you need at least 3 members at this point because you're gonna have a lot of people coming up from DYS as well. You know,
Yeah,
Karma.
Aurelia and Warwick can't stop that. And with the Zillion and the Karma, DYS can move around the map very fast, very quickly. And the big problem with this Warwick is he doesn't have that huge lead, so he can't be just going.
That's a
on
great
someone.
cut out.
Here we go.
I was just gone, blown up. Don't let me die. Wants a little bit more though. Stands on a trap, gets crit down for himself.
That Caitlyn crit.
My goodness. You know, as I say, don't let me die. Gets, you know, just deletes Karma instant. He gets deleted even faster. It's kind of ironic.
Yeah, he's basically going to be an ultimate bot at this point. The game has gone, you know, to that point where Warwick kind of starts to fall off, especially against a coordinated team. In solo queue, where people are, you know, kind of out on the
Yeah, just can just dive Hugh at this point. It really doesn't matter. However, Sir Trickshot comes back and can probably take down Nasus and doesn't take
that's
any
big.
damage.
Putting that
a
extra
very, very big
500 gold onto the Tristana helps her catch up, helps her get to that point where she can start contesting the Caitlyn.
Definitely. So with that 500 gold, definitely can finish her Infinity Edge now. That's 2 item Tristana in 20 minutes. It's alright, not the best that you could hope for, but puts her ahead of the Caitlyn at this point, which is vital.
I think that's you know, their ticket back into this game is stalling the game out, letting the Veigar, letting the Tristana get to that kind of hyper carry point, and then having the Warwick and the Braum and even the Irelia now at this point just peel for the team. Irelia can put that ultimate onto the Nasus, onto the Caitlyn, stop those auto attacks from coming through with that disable, and then using that Mountain Drake to kind of burn down objectives whenever they get the edge.
Oh, for sure. And it feels bad that you say that, but you're right. At this point, this Irelia is too far behind for her to do any meaningful damage, and she just has to play the peel game and keep the actual carries alive.
You know, I kind of almost wish she'd gone for Iceborne instead of the Trinity Force. Trinity Force definitely the stronger item, but when you're so far behind, Trinity is just so expensive. Yes, it's stat efficient. It gives her everything she wants, but the Iceborne could also give her that armor and that slow to kind of survive the Nasus if he's coming at her.
Definitely. And I was talking about the Zeke's Convergence giving, you know, DYS that extra magic damage, which means their ability. Ooh, as DYS is actually getting collapsed on right now. It's 4 from the bot side, 1 from top side, and there goes the Trundle. However, the Aurelius trade on the top side. However, BBC keeps wanting to chase. They keep chasing, and this Sarah trick shot, she's doing a lot of damage. Ults onto the Karma, keeps her alive for a second longer, but is a bad spot. Percy gets hit down by 2 bombs. Now support will follow as well. That is a 3 for 1, and tower.
They've got to send somebody back for this Nasus. I think it's a smart choice that they decided, you know what, let's go here and take the kills that we can, try to get back into this, get the turret. But they give up that turret bot lane that's going to lose a lot of pressure for Dragon. But they're looking at Baron with those double mountains.
Now this is like between a rock and hard spot for this Nasus, because when your team's only 2 damage, you have the group. And yeah, he comes in, he has the teleport, but it's 1v4. Oh, great double stun coming in from Zillion. It's knocked back from the Buster shot, so chase cannot be continued, but that is UC off the Baron.
Yeah, smart move getting off that as soon as when they did. Tristana's able to ult and get him out. That's kind of what we were talking about, where they can kind of delay these fights with the Tristana ulting him away, the Irelia kind of slowing them and disabling their auto attacks. To let their team disengage, but they're going to lose the Infernal Drake, but maybe they can swing back up to Baron, put some pressure there. I don't think they can fight 5v5 right now.
No, definitely not. However, Nasus has to walk up. Doesn't seem like it'll be a problem because Irelia and Zillion Veigar are on top side. That's a free Infernal Drake. Next dragon will be a 3rd mountain. Ooh, Kremika is just a little bit too far up. Has a Zillion ult on her, so it won't matter in the end. Percy just free flying the backline, and Zero Trickshot has to just keep dodging, keep fighting, and just wasn't able to put out nearly as much damage as that Caitlyn.
Yeah, and the Shredder Man just got shredded. Trundle didn't even use his ultimate for that. He just said, you know what, we've got enough to take this guy down.
So yeah, it's good for this Caitlyn to get ahead by this much 5-1-2 so far, all still up in CS. Because I was talking about this Nasus and the fact that DYS lost the team fight earlier on, because
Ooh,
when the Caitlyn gets caught out, it's awkward. Ooh, this is
a
pretty
good move. They're
This is a
using
really
those
good
down
wrinkle. They have no vision in the river
DYS
at
have
all.
no idea.
That's a free Baron. Oh my god. Alright.
That you know, DYS are so far ahead at this point, or they were anyway, before that big play topside. It's surprising that they're not prioritizing that Baron and getting that vision over there. It's kind of showing that while they have the tools to win in lane, they're not kind of putting that towards winning the game.
And they're not converting that properly in the macro, because if they just forced the Baron, they could have won 5v5, no questions asked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this Nasus is huge. The Caitlyn is arguably even stronger at this point. She's getting to that third item spike. But the Tristana is starting to catch up. The Veigar's really far ahead. He's, despite the turrets, he's almost 2,000 gold up on the Zillion.
Yes, yeah, 550 AP. Twice the AP of Zillion.
550 ability power already. And I'm not seeing a lot of magic resist on the side of DYS. Actually none. I would think it looks like the Trundle's going for Knight's Vow, which is the typical build.
Yeah.
Nasus is going for a Dead Man's. Interesting that he wanted even more speed ups. I would think like a Spirit Visage to kind of survive that
It helps
Veigar.
passive as well too.
Yeah, and it helps his passive with the lifesteal.
Now that was a good stun on to Don't Let Me Die. Calls himself out.
Yeah,
but Percy has that red buff. Can keep chasing that Archineer. Ooh, that's a good little. Don't Let Me Die just might up dying here, but Percy's a little bit too far up. Gets hit up by that Vanguard's Edge.
Nice
And Hugh's on a great catch there. Trickshot can just go in, and Hugh takes down Crummy Kid. Still stays alive. Now the Tristan can get resets. Tristan can keep going in. Decides to back off. Letting Hugh to do damage, but that's a nice Zillion bomb onto 2. Stops
And
bleeding
Hugh
for now.
kind of showing why he made that pick. Able to have those mechanics to stay alive, get the kills, and still get out of there with his life. However, they're all caught up. It's practically a tie game at this point, except for map pressure.
Yeah.
And even there, they're kind of tied up on turrets, except for that bot lane turret. So this is a close game. This is anybody's match right now. I
Yeah,
like comp-wise, I like DYS. Their chances, especially with the Irelia so far down, they can kind of fight. And Warwick, just the nature of Warwick, it's almost like a 5v3 at this point. Because he's just using his ultimate to get out of there. He can't survive that damage right now. It looks like he's aiming towards Randuin's. I like that pick instead of the Dead Man's. A little more defensive, less aggressive. I almost wish he'd kind of delayed the Titanic at this point, since he's not far behind, but he doesn't need that extra clear speed. This isn't solo queue. He needs to help his team survive, help that Tristana and that Veigar do that damage. And when he's using his ultimate to just get away because he's getting shredded so fast, the Titanic's not doing anything for him anyway.
Yeah. Could just saw on Tiamat Soda earlier. So I was thinking about Nasus as Nasus getting jumped on right now. Set back off from the side of BBC, but problem with Nasus is he is probably DYS's greatest weapon and their greatest weakness. He can continuously split push. He can't be fought unless 1v3, but he's never going to really group either. He can, but we haven't seen that yet from Umbria.
I think he's waiting maybe 500 stacks, let's say, until he joins up. But
he's almost 600, dude.
Then I think he's just getting stuck in the Nasus trap. He needs to join up. They need to defend these objectives. He's just down there taking golems, and
he's flanking right now. And this is the important part. He just jumps right onto Sarah Trick Shot down to a third health. That is a great low catch there. Now Warwick does not use the ult to escape. Instead goes in and ends up dying. And Umbria is just 1v3ing right now. Takes down Veigar. Takes down the Braum. That's what happens when Nasus actually groups. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're criticizing him for not grouping, and he comes in.
And now he groups like, wow, he just went. Man, look at that. 1 Q heals him up for 240. Now imagine if he had a Spirit Visage, that would heal him for another 20%, which would be 288. That's almost 300 healing on 1 Q.
He's also got a Frozen Heart now, though, which is going to help with the Irelia, help with the Warwick, and help with the Tristana. And even the Braum, not letting him get those passive ticks off as fast
Yeah.
if he gets in there.
Once Irelia goes in, she won't have any meaningful attack speed from the Trinity Force.
Yeah, and NASA's answering that Irelia. The Irelia was able to take one of those turrets, but she's coming around the backside. If she survives.
She teleports in, but teleports in a little bit too far. That's a little strange. DYS could have collapsed on that. Teleports are visible through Fog of War, so they just scan around a little bit.
I think they decided they are 4v5 without their big weapon in the Nasus, so they decided, you know what, let's just hightail it and get out of here.
And now the final dragon will be up. That was a triple mountain dragon for a side of UC. They can rush down Baron in a second. Veigar nukes it. Tristan outputs a ton of damage.
That is a triple mountain for them.
I
They're
think
down
Veigar
in an inhib. They lost that big team fight
yes.
just recently. But if they can get to the turrets and get to the objectives before Nasus gets there, they're going to shred those down.
Yeah.
I still think that this game is a game of inches. Who can out macro the other team and play those team fights better?
Now this is a siege down, but great double stun onto the AD carry and the support. Forces them off the turret. The AD carry, the Tristan already at 5th health. That's a problem. The Tristan is big, but she's getting cut out so often. Can never be more effective than a couple seconds unless BBC are the ones doing the catching out.
Yeah,
Now,
she needs
BBC
to
are
be
the ones that
sitting
have
in
to
the
run.
back. Hold that thought.
Oh, and this is exactly what you're talking about. The run down coming side of DYS. The Montred up shields the zillion speed ups. The Strumix just keeps on going. Now,
Ooh.
works in front, trying to zone a little bit, and very
pillar?
little.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Shredderman getting taken very low. However, nice little burst shot. Gets that final bit of range, and now that's the final little bit of dissuasion. That's DYS needs to just sort of back the hell off.
Yeah, and we also, what we were talking about earlier, the Veigar was able to put up that stun field to make them have to kind of go around it. They might have been able to catch them, get that pillar on them if it hadn't been for that. But now with Baron coming up in 20 seconds, I think this is going to be the fight for the game.
It was a very well played coordination between the Veigar and the Warwick because the Veigar Event Horizon takes up about 60% of the lane. The AoE from Warwick's Howl, if he gets it off, will take off the other 40%. So to get through it, they would have to go through either the stun, which stops them in the tracks, or the Howl, which stops them in the tracks.
And sends them back a little.
Yeah, sends them back a little too, so very well played. In the end, they still managed to get through when Warwick's Howl was down, and that required Buster Shot, but Buster Shot has relatively low cooldown. Nobody really talks about that.
I want to point out that this Irelia has not died in a long time. She went down 0-5 in lane, and she's been kind of trying to slowly get back in that.
Ooh, that's a big crit on Zero Trick Shot. Down to half health already. It's really problematic when your AD carry just goes in half health before every single team fight. Nice double stun onto Braum, also taken down to half health, forced to use shield to no avail. Spursy just hitting over the wall. Actually gets ulted up by the Warwick, but there's no follow-up damage. Hugh coming from side, trying to do what he can, but don't let me die. Ends up dying. Search cut, getting taken down by Umbria. Or so we think.
Warwick just going a little ham.
It's all they really need to start this Baron. The Warwick is down. There's no smites. However, this Warwick, this Nasus taking down very low. That is the Zillion ults onto him. Zillion ult not procced, and they're just trying to finish it down. Oh, that is a Guardian Angel taken down, and
Ooh.
nice little smite. That was very close. My God.
Yeah.
Caitlyn bought a
Warwick
Guardian
had the
Angel.
opportunity. He could either go for Caitlyn or he could try to stop the Trundle from wreaking havoc on the backline and maybe get that Trundle kill. And he went for the Caitlyn, trying to be the hero. He just needs to stay back there, kind of stay alive, because he's the one with the smite to force them off. If they kill the Trundle there's no smite. They have the control of the Baron, arguably, with that smite. So he's got to play those moments a little tighter if he wants to carry his team to victory.
Definitely, and I think there was a little glimmer of hope where BBC actually could have won that, and that's where the Warwick ults came onto Caitlyn, got her down to about 40% health, a couple of shots from the Stunner Guard down to about like 10%, and I really was about to go in. She was thinking about going in, but then just decides not to, and I think that was sort of a mistake. From what we saw in that mid lane fight a couple of fights ago, she can go in and survive on a sliver of health.
Right, but
And
on the
yeah,
other
changing it
hand,
really for Caitlyn.
that Caitlyn has her Guardian Angel and also Zillion.
Oh, yeah,
So it
that's
could
a
have
good
been the
point.
Irelia saying, I don't
could've-
think we're going to get her, and even if we do, she's going to stay alive. So with all those defensive tools, she's got the Karma as well. It's kind of hard to just go all in, and the Warwick needs to realize that the Irelia is not quite close enough to help yet. So, it could have gone either way. If they had gotten that Caitlyn down right there, maybe they win that fight and get the
Ooh,
Baron.
this Tristan is in a really bad spot. Has the Warwick there as well. Oh, 1Q takes Tristan down to third health. He just keeps on going, forcing the flash out Tristan. Well, there's the left jump. Now here comes the 1v3 we've been talking about. Finally. There are, of course, 3 people to take down Nasus. However, the last 2 people are not enough to defend the base, and there's another inhibitor going down.
And that's where, the Nasus, they pay the Nasus tax. They send the 3 people to go take him out and lose an inhib for it.
I like the
now
Zillion scoreline.
What's that?
No side note, I like the Zillion scoreline. He's
Oh,
playing
and
the support mid lane to
doing what he
perfection.
needs to do. He's going to start doing a lot of damage with those bombs, though, at the 3 item with the Sorcerer's Shoes.
That Luden's proccing as well, an extra few hundred damage. No. Thank you very much.
And the shield to keep the Warwick ult from picking him.
Definitely.
Now they've got these Mountain Drakes. Super minions aren't pushing in yet. Looks like we're going to have a big fight for the dragon.
Yeah. Now this is the Outer Dragon, and I don't know, I think it's mostly up to DYS. When it comes to this dragon, it's mostly to deny BBC the dragon. They don't really need the dragon so much themselves. It will be another quote-unquote half Infernal Dragon, which is nice. But they're not really getting it for the fact that they want the dragon as a win condition.
Yeah, they get a little bit of true damage, but they're already doing enough damage to do anything. Looks like are they just conceding it?
It seems like they are, and dragon has been activated. Getting pulled out a little bit, and here comes the triple triple mountain dragon burned down. It's just going down way too fast. Teleport coming in from the Nasus, but it's a little too late. Finish the teleport channel anyways. He's in there without a flash. Seems like BBC doesn't know that and just lets the Nasus live for fear of that massive axe.
Yeah, 6 Mountain Drakes here for the side of BBC. If they can win a team fight, they're going to take this game. But looks like DYS has other ideas as they move to the top side, try to get that last outer turret. I like that. They're not going to try for that team fight while the dragon is still up. Getting the vision in the top side jungle to prevent those flanks that the Irelia and Warwick want.
So with that Outer Dragon, they would do 45% of their damage and true damage as well. So their damage went up by 50% almost. Hughes caught out a little bit. Gets hit up, uses that Vanguard's Edge to sort of channel himself. Percy has the ultimate on him. He uses that Quicksilver Slash instead. Now, Don't Let Me Die is way too far up. Redemption to reset the side of DYS, and they keep the siege going.
And this is a trap that I see a lot of Warwicks falling into, where they try for the back line and try to be this hero where they go to the back line, and they don't do damage anymore. They've only got the Titanic Hydra and their base abilities, so they need to transition into the late game as a supportive player. They need to be peeling for that Veigar, peeling for that Tristana, who are dishing out tons of damage because he's just throwing away his life right now.
Ooh, he goes in. I should almost catch that OG Josh, but great shields coming from the Karma keeps him at a couple hundred out. Umbria's having a time of his life right now. 2 inhibitors down now. There'll be super minions in the bot and mid lanes. But this is a 4v4 that's the BBC wants to take. Gets a 3-man stun onto them from the side of DYS, so it slows down the approach a little bit. But now the turnaround, Draconic uses that ult on Hugh. Hugh is squishy beyond belief. Nasus ulted over the wall, and this chase down from the Trundle is just enough triple kill to the side of Percy, and this just might be the game.
That's game.
Yeah, this will be game. Super minion is already in the base.
That was a 4v4, and that Caitlyn damage with the Zillion, stun, that triple stun by Zillion.
Definitely.
Kind of seals the game.
Yeah, it seemed like BBC always had the chance to come back in the game, but they were playing on the back foot since 2 minutes in, since that first play down in the bottom.
Exactly. And then they just make a couple mistakes, small mistakes, that kind of just let the game get out of hand. So while we're exiting the game, who would you say is your MVP?
MVP, I would have to put that over to. No, that's a tough one. No matter what, I'm putting him between Umbria and Percy.
Definitely.
Now, it's a little awkward because on one hand, Umbria was the one that applied 90% of the map pressure for the side of DYS. However, that map pressure sometimes bit them, in the foots a little bit when they exert a little bit too much. On the other hand, Percy didn't really have so much flashy plays, didn't really do much, but was always there, did 35,000 damage, most on the team by 13,000. So yeah, 50% more damage than anyone else on team. And it just was like silent guardian sort of thing, Batman or something.
Yeah, he's dishing out that damage, especially in the early game where kind of they had a bit of an advantage, but then he turned it into even a bigger advantage. And whenever BBC tried to get in there and punish the Caitlyn, she was able to come up with kills and make that team go. And I think the NASA, you're right, it's really up in the air because the NASA's won that lane so hard and then was able to just keep so much pressure across the map, keep BBC from engaging full on with that Tristana Vhagar and just taking the base while they're team fighting. I'm gonna have to give it to Umbria. The Caitlyn definitely putting in the highlights, but the Umbria just winning that lane, winning it hard, and then transitioning that to turrets and objectives.
Definitely well played by both of them on the side of DYS, and as a result, grants them the first game. Now, to break it down even further, let's throw it over to our analyst desk with game 2 soon enough.
And thank you guys, and we are back here on the analyst desk today for Risen Esports Dominate League. I'm still returned. I am still here with Dylan and Keochin. That was an up and down game if I have ever seen one.
Yeah, for sure. Back and forth throughout, honestly. Until like the very end of the game, it was kind of up in the air who was going to actually come home with that.
Yeah, and what I really liked about this game was that we saw the clear strengths of either team over the course of the game.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, let's start it out with the very beginning of that game. First Blood, in fact, going over off of a very aggressive but fairly thought through invade off the back of the Warwick, off the back of Don't Let Me Die.
Yeah, for sure. Like we were talking about the top side pressure that BBC had that game. If they were able to play off that, if they were able to play off the fact that in theory Irelia is the stronger laner than Nasus, then they were able to exploit that, and they did, certainly. It was very good.
Yeah, that's definitely something that you're planning going into the game because you don't just off of a whim get a pre-level 6 Warwick a first blood opportunity. And so there's something to be said about the thought process in that top side of the map.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, it wasn't just the tops of the map. Even in the earlier stages of the game, it looked like DYS, they had a firm grasp of the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, there was the second blood of the game was the solo kill or the duo kill bot lane, the 2v2 kill. Braum just stepped up for a Targon stack at level 1. Karma Caitlyn ticked over to level 2, and he just died. He didn't respect it. He didn't exhaust. He flashed late. He didn't flash the root. He just flashed afterwards, and by then it was too late. The ignite was already on, and he was dead.
Yeah, and throwing this one over to you, Keochin, actually. There definitely was one lane that didn't get ahead. That mid lane looks like it could have been the thing that finally broke open the game for BBC.
Yeah, definitely. Like Zillion just doesn't put out the pressure that could stop Vhagar from getting all that early farm, and it would have taken legitimate jungle pressure, but the jungle had other obligations and had to help contain that top side to promote the lead that he got on the Nasus.
And I mean, with how that early game really played out with the top lane, with the bottom lane for DYS, it was a shock to me that it went so late, but I think a huge portion of this has to be that neutral objective control. They just couldn't seem to get it done.
Yeah, DYS had some very lackluster setups, including giving away a Baron for free. BBC was definitely behind I think 4,000 gold when they took that Baron, something like that. And they just took it. double Mountain Drake, and they're off the map for nearly 30 seconds. And DYS didn't even think to check. They just waltzed mid lane, didn't bother to check the river, no pings, nothing. And Baron's given over for free. And at that point, it was kind of up in the air. It was like, oh, are they actually going to start to come back here? Is DYS just throwing this game? But in the end, they actually managed to clean it up a little bit, and they still came home with it.
Yeah, most certainly. And I mean, we have seen everything going on through DYS do make the game work at the very end. Caitlyn plus Nasus just seem to absolutely popping off with an absolutely phenomenal supporting staff as well. But I mean, given everything we saw that game, starting with you, Kyochin, who do you think deserves to be MVP for that match?
I think you give the MVP to the Nasus. The Caitlyn had the 12-3 scoreline, and there's no saying what could have happened if she wasn't as fed as she was. But the amount of pressure that Nasus was able to create for himself, the amount of attention he required to keep down, it allowed the Caitlyn to become a secondary threat while she climbed and she got the kills and she got the items, and eventually she just became too powerful, and there was no way that the team could focus their damage on both Nasus and Caitlyn at the same time.
Yeah, thank you, Kitchen. So that's going to be one vote for Umbria. Now, Dylan, who do you think deserves the MVP?
I'm going to have to go the other way. I think definitely there's a case for Umbria and his Nasus gameplay that game, but I just have to give it to Percy. The damage charts, just his gameplay, his scoreline, it was insane that game. There were fights where he was getting jumped on by Aurelia, by Warwick. He was getting attempted to blown up by Veigar. And he's just dodging, weaving through all these. And with the help of Crown Me Kid, he's definitely just outplaying these fights, pumping out the damage while staying safe from all the threats.
Yeah,
I got to give it his way.
And you guys can see the stats on your screen right now, or what used to be the stats on your screen. Didn't realize we found that graphic already for you guys. But yeah, so much damage coming out of both of these members. Certainly not quite as much as maybe the mid lane Veigar does, but I personally, if I have to break the tie here for game number one, I have to give it over to Percy, especially in the early game. His duo synergy with Crown Me, plus his kiting in a lot of these team fights. The first one that pops to mind is the top lane team fight by that top lane Tri-Bush. Just puts it home for me. So, thank guys. That's going to be our analysis of game number one completed. And I believe we will be sticking around, or we'll be heading out until we get the game two pick and bans coming out, guys. Make sure you guys stick with us. We'll be back in just a minute. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Risen Esports Dominate League, week number 2. We're still in a heated battle between the Barnacle Boy Club and DYS. DYS currently being 1-0 up in the match. I'm still Steven Turn Johnson here with you guys on the desk. And with me, we have Dylan and Kaochin. How are you guys doing after game 1?
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to game 2. Hopefully, we see more of a fight back from BBC and less of the ugly mid-late game that we saw from DYS.
Yeah, I'm definitely doing pretty well. I like getting to see the strengths and disadvantages of both teams throughout the course of that first game, and I'm willing to, and I want to see who's able to put that in, who's able to make that the spotlight of their next performance.
Yeah, and we are getting into the picks and bans here live for you guys on that screen. Get ready for game 2 once again. And I mean, there's a lot to take in consideration. DYS with such a strong top lane, such a strong ADC, and you're already seeing the Caitlyn getting banned out. Do we see a Nasus banner as well, or are we going to see some counter picking up here finally?
I don't think we see a Nasus game. I think the Nasus was a one-time pick, and I think they're better prepared for it now. And so I don't think they'll be putting the jungler on someone who can gank a lot better, and they'll be putting their top laner on a pick that can. Or you have it there. You have the Maokai.
He's going to pick Mordekaiser. I'm calling it right here. Umbria loves when the enemy picks a tank that loses lane, and he loves playing Mordekaiser into it. It would not surprise. They might save it for third pick just so that they can get a priority pick now because they don't need to. But definitely keep that on your guys' radar. Mordekaiser, Yorick, Nasus. Those are his big 3, and all 3 of those would love to lane against a Maokai. That's a very interesting first pick.
And the comfort support, the Nami, 100 games of Nami for him this season, and it's definitely his most played champion. It's going to be his top priority pick. It was banned first rotation last game.
But here's the thing for me, because now if you do want to go for the Mordekaiser in this third rotation, you lose out on ADC until the next round. And I mean, 3 ADCs are already being banned away. You got the Caitlyn, you got the Ezreal, you got the Kai'Sa, all already out the door. So I'm going to see which one of those is actually going to draw a little bit more priority. But the bottom lane for Barnacle Boys Club is locked in already. That will be the Alistar plus Varus. So already, Barnacle Boys, they're looking for a lot of engage on the front side of this game.
Yeah, for sure.
That's already 2 big tanks for the Trundle, and you know how the ult works with it takes the percentage of your resistances and drains those over time. Like that into a Maokai who's just going to stack resistances on top of resistances is going to be huge.
Okay, the Tristana third pick definitely makes sense. 80 carry pool's pinched. Ezreal, Caitlyn, Kai'Sa, Varus were all off the table for Percy. Tristana's kind of that next go-to 80 carry, so that they can't just double ban him out and then he's got nothing to go to in the second phase.
Yeah, just like that. Also, potentially now you have the time to ban away the Yorick. Not ban away the Yorick. You could ban away the Yorick if you wanted to, but you can ban away the Mordekaiser as well. Yeah. Ban away all these priority top laners that you're expecting to get picked up, but DYS, they're not actually going to ban again. For those of you guys who weren't watching game number 1, just tuning in now, DYS never actually locked in their last ban, so maybe just saying, hey, we don't care what you pick here, we're still going to beat it.
I believe it's because I think they have an emergency jungle sub, which means that they lose 1 ban. Starting jungler's Albino Panther, and he wasn't able to make it tonight, so Draconic 70s subbing in, so I think that's the reason they haven't been banning.
That would make sense, because that is now 1 ban from every game gone.
Yeah.
Having banned out once more just because of the mid lane dominance that was able to have over the counter of the Zillion, but another top lane ban. Nasus not going to be coming our way again. And
for sure.
Ooh, and the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, Yorick is still up. He does heavily prefer that champion. He might pick it here. He might save it for the last pick. We'll see what he ends up going for. He may go for something different as well.
Yeah, but on the other side, well, we are going to be getting a pick here for DYS. Barnacle Boys still do need a jungler, unless that's going to be a jungle Maokai. And boy, I have very bad memories of when that was in the meta.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Warwick is still available as well, but DYS, they're feeling like they need a little bit more of engage. They're going to go with a very safe mid laner there. Maybe try to keep that top lane, bot lane priority. Pick something that plays a little bit further back in mid.
Yeah, interesting picking the Malzahar here. I feel like you go for the top laner and you leave the counter pick mid lane, unless they feel like Malzahar is something that maybe BBC would pick for the mid lane, and they want to take that out of their hands. So we'll see. Brand mid lane locked in. All right.
about to say, I mean, I immediately when I saw it, I was like, oh, they're playing a very aggressive support, but no, that's going to get locked in, and that could actually be the Camille in the jungle. There are quite a few
Ooh.
flex options available here.
Yeah, for sure. I think most likely it is the Camille in the jungle just due to Maokai, especially with the new Scuttle changes. You probably don't want to lock him in. He can't really do too much in an early Scuttle fight.
Mhm.
But yeah, Camille jungle, definitely a very aggressive pick. And a good pick into the Trundle because Trundle does struggle a little bit against those non-tanks that actually pose a threat to him.
Exactly. I mean, one of
Ooh.
the most popular things I've seen with the Camille jungle is going for one of those buffs straight to Rift Herald, Rift Skelder rather, going over to mid lane gank and then getting the other Rift Skelder. So still a lot of room now for the Barnacle Boys Club. Actually play through that early game, quite a bit of engage, quite a bit of damage. But DYS, they refuse to be outdone.
Yeah, they flex pick the Trundle to the top lane and they leave jungle for counter pick last. They threw everybody for a loop here and they actually lock in the Evelyn, which Draconic thinks is a winning matchup into the Camille, so we'll see how that goes.
And you know what this means? That was 2 top lane focused bans in the second round of bans.
Yeah,
Get away from the comfort picks, but that was their top laner from the start.
yeah, wow, that's actually, I'm impressed. That was definitely, threw everybody for a ruse. I feel like a lot of people definitely thought that that was a Trundle in the jungle, but yeah, switching it up, Trundle in the top lane, very, very strong into the Maokai. Trundle has been notorious for dumpstering tanks in lane for seasons upon seasons now. Whenever he's strong, it's because tanks are strong. And playing into Maokai, it's like a throwback to Season 4, and Trundle hard stomps that matchup.
It's like a dream come true. However, I want to keep our attention now towards the mid lane because, yeah, Brand's going to be a super aggressive laner here, but into the Malzahar and the Evelyn, you gotta think he is going to be on the receiving end of so many ganks post this level 6.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even pre-level 6, there's a little bit of a threat, but post-level 6, it is so easy. You can't cleanse Malzahar with the summoner spell Cleanse. There's just nothing that'll get you away from Charm, or the Charm following up the Malzahar Nethergrass. It's impossible to get away from. Brand's going to have to respect it by standing light years away from the minion wave.
But you have to consider
Ooh,
the
we
power
are-
that
Hate to cut you guys off, but we are getting a little bit of late breaking news. So apparently, that Evelyn actually was a misclick. That is going to be a Yorick, in fact, locked in the top lane.
Ah,
So that does still mean Trundle is going over into the jungle. Very unfortunate pick. I'm not sure how you get Evelyn mixed up with Yorick, as the two names are very far apart. But either way, we found out how to do so. But yeah, that does seem to change a lot of these matchups on the sidelines.
yeah, for sure. Yorick is in a definite comfort pick for Umbria. It's right up there with the Nasus, the Mordekaiser, things like that. He loves lane dominant champions that can split push forever and force 1v2s, 1v3s. That's his preferred playstyle, and it's the playstyle that DYS loves to play against teams.
something I think is
Wait
gonna.
a second. I'm also getting a
Yeah.
little bit more late breaking information from one of our casters, Shady Gecko, as well, that Maokai could actually, that Maokai is in fact locked in for the jungle. That does mean we'll have
wow.
a Camille versus Trundle top lane matchup, but I mean, already Maokai jungle, that's got to be throwing some serious red flags out there for jungle pressure. I mean, DYS, sure, they might have had the most aggressive jungler in the game last match, but you got to think those Rift Scuttlers rather just became so much easier to take.
You gotta talk about what that means for the mid lane matchup in particular, because initially, if we're talking a Brand Camille 2v2 against Evelyn Malzahar, Trundle Malzahar, they'll win that pre-6 very handily. But the mid lane could be a prime target for ganks with the Maokai. Malzahar doesn't have any way to avoid it other than burning his flash, and at that point, you're just coming back.
Yeah, certainly. But we did see that even when OG Josh is set behind, he's playing on another champion where you don't necessarily need a lead. You're more utility focused with the silence, with the nether grasp. He doesn't need to get too far ahead this game. They picked him more for the utility, and they're just funneling the carries through the Yorick top lane for Umbria, the Tristana, for Percy, and they're just going to let those guys kind of facilitate the flow of the game.
All right, guys, as we do get close to the time for our match, as we almost are out of spectator delay time, we're going to go for a little bit of a rapid-fire round. I want each of you guys to tell me what is the winning condition for each of these sides. Ko-Chin, why don't you start off with DYS, and then we'll pop over to you, Dylan, for Barnacle Boys Club.
the win condition is currently to win through that. You're gonna have to win through the Tristana Nami lane. Nami can put out a fair bit of lane presence on her own, especially when compared to the Alistar, but it will be a matter of actual support mechanical skill in beating Varus, who will scale pretty evenly with Tristana through the early and mid game.
All right, now over to you, Dylan. How do BBC come out with the win here and tie the series up 1-1?
I think they need to play towards top side again. They have Camille in the top lane supposedly into the Yorick, and that's pretty easy gank setup. Yorick does not have anything to escape ganks other than flash, whereas Camille has the ultimatum, the hook shot, things like that. Maokai has the roots, and it should be pretty easy ganks in the top lane. They just have to be afraid of the Maiden of the Mist and him turning it around on them, especially if Trundle's there or if Malzar's roaming up.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. We're going to be getting ready for game number 2 of the Risen Esports Week 2 Dominate League between Barnacle Boy Club and DYS. We're going to throw it over to our casters. We do get ready for game number 2. Until then, guys, catch you around. We'll be back here on the analyst desk after the game.
All right, welcome back to the live cast section of Risen Dominant Esports. Once again, I am Eldoist. With me is my color caster, co-caster, Shady Gecko. Now, looking into this match, this Maokai jungle pick is the one biggest thing that stands out to me before we can really get a look at Keystones. It's not something we've really seen in a while, is it?
No, and it's an interesting pick because he's not known as a very strong early jungle, but he is doing okay on the win rates with the new patch. He's sitting at about 50%, but he doesn't have like a very high upper win rate. You know, some junglers like Graves, he's only at 52%, but his best win rate is 60% or something like that with the best players. So Maokai isn't the worst pick, but it definitely interesting. Kind of says their team said, all right, you know what, your ultimates were going into the enemy team too much. Let's use that ultimate to just disrupt the enemy so that we can get onto them. And speaking of that, if the Alistar can kind of get in there, get that WQ combo in, and stop one of them in their tracks, Maokai can kind of follow that up and use his ultimate to keep the other team off, let Brand and Varus do all their damage while Camille dives the backline. So it's not the worst pick. He can use those saplings to kind of set up the vision for the scuttles, but he's going to need to play it correctly to get the farm advantage on this jungle. So would you like to introduce the blue side as we come into game?
Of course. Now blue side, since game 2 has switched over, it is now Barnacle Boy Club on the blue side. We have Hugh on Camille on the top lane. Don't Let Me Die on Maokai in the jungle. Arcaneer, I don't know. On Brand in the mid lane. Sir Trickshot on Varus in the 80 carry position, accompanied by Shredderman 57 on Alistair.
All right, and on the red side for the Dyslectic Denefnetters, we have Umbria on the Yorick,
Beautiful.
Dragoink 70 on the Trundle, the OG Josh on Malzahar, and Percy 1803 on the Tristana. Noticing this invade coming down, drops
Yeah.
a ward.
Slow you down
Crown
there.
Me Kid with Nami fills out the team for Dyslectic Denefnetters. I know.
Got it.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
would say that
I'm
was a
here all
very
day.
good early word from Percy 1803, coming in. With that move speed, since both teams have this exact same amount of speed, it takes longer, obviously, for you to cross over the river than just to approach it. And, the Tristana was able to get to that one bush early, put that ward down, sees all 5, invade, completely dissipated,
Yeah, and they don't
So
really
it's a
get.
small thing, but very important.
Yeah, neither side gets that vision that they kind of want, like Reds got last game. So they'll both be going in blind. The Trundle, I think, is just going to really want to get the advantage on this Maokai and get out to those scuttles as fast as possible. But Maokai also has a very good buff first clear, so maybe that's why his win rate has kind of stayed at that 50%. He did not layer those saplings very well. You normally want to, with the Maokai, kind of layer them around because they only apply their passive extra damage. They don't stack that. It just refreshes. So you want to spread them out so you get the full damage. But just a small thing.
Yeah.
As a
In the end, he
jungler.
still cleared it about 5 seconds faster. It won't actually matter because Trundle, after the first one, clears it faster than Maokai. And
True.
the thing about the Maokai is rather than the champion pick, the comp, all the sort of actual meta macro stuff, when it comes down to actual teams, I like this on Don't Let Me Die rather than the aggressive junglers that we see so much in the meta right now, like Graves and Zhao, Trundle. And, going back to a tank jungler puts him on something that he's more comfortable on, someone where he doesn't feel compelled to go in order to be effective on team.
Yeah, and if he does come in, here we go.
Nice
And
little-
nothing there. Just kind of says hello. I'm Alistair. How you doing?
How you doing?
Looks like both sides are kind of trading the scuttles right now. Malzahar getting a nice ward to ward off that Maokai from getting in on Trundle's red. Trundle's free to go in. Looks like he's looking down bot lane. This could be big.
Definitely. Trundle comes in. There's no ward in that tri-bush, so he can just walk in for free. And this is really far pushed by they keep on going. This is honestly really, really risky. A great double knockup. However,
and
Percy
Alistair
goes
didn't
in
notice.
with great damage. Heal forced out of the Varus and the Flash as well, but that is a dead Varus. It's through and through. They're onto the Alistair as well. Jump reset from Tristana. They might actually be able to get this instead. Flash forced out. Very, 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 very good plan.
Oh, and she gets it.
I did not see that one on the top side. Hugh teleported in, and
that's huge.
that's trade. Wow, it's somehow that is an even bigger lead. Now that Hugh has to walk back to the lane, which means he's going to be down. He traded both the summoners, and Karmakid was already down 2 summoners, so that is 6 summoners for 3. Not to mention the fact that it's just Q kills for 1, just across the map.
Yeah, such a good
Everything.
play at first. Or it was just a good play all around for. Oh, here we go.
There you go. Don't Let Me Die. It is a little bit far up. Tries to hit down Umbria, to keep the lane, and he just keeps flashing over. Has the roots down in 1 second. It's enough to take down Umbria. And as a result, and that was good too. The kill went over to Maokai, which would actually like the earlier lead.
Yeah, gets him
Such a
a
strange
little more
shot, that's-
advantage. Kind of wish I think he should have left that for the Camille to help her get back into this and have that advantage against that pushing Yorick. But he'll be able to bring this lead. He's got 28 farm. He was able to take the Raptors and the red buff away from Trundle while Trundle went down and got that kill. So he's still kind of even. The gold's looking actually in Maokai's advantage since he got that first scuttle and the buff.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And
maybe
the
he can bring
farming.
that lead around the map as the jungler.
Now talking about leads, going back to your earlier point about how it might have been better, probably would have been better if the kill went over to Camille. Yorick at best goes even with Camille. He's not a champion that you pick to win lane against Camille. Let's be honest, there are very few champions, if any at all, that lane against Camille. So if you can snowball that lead even further, puts Umbreon in a very tough place. He's somebody who's usually used to winning a lane or just being able to exert dominance. You know, he's known for his laning power. He's known for being able to just win trades and snowballing that. So if he's forced behind, it puts him in a very awkward place to play from.
Right, and he's your split pusher. If your split pusher can't win the 1v1, he's not a split pusher anymore. He has to group,
Very
and that
true.
kind of defeats the purpose of that pick. So I think Maokai is definitely going to want to look top again if he can. Oh, and I did not realize that Camille can just use her hookshot to get out of the Yorick deathly traps.
It does count as a terrain, so she can just, exit that little dark procession. Now, mid lane, that is a huge advantage for her. OG Jaws is completely out of mana, so he's being pushed back wave and wave again.
Yeah, and the brand up by 12 farm already. He has a 300 gold lead so far. That's equal to a kill.
Yeah, that just shows what
Trundle
farm
looking
does.
for this dive up here with the ultimate. Camille does not have ult.
You saw Don't Let Me Die on the bot side, so he was forced to use the hookshot to that little shield from her passive. It does not do much. Flash out from Dragonic to make sure he doesn't die. And that was a great response from the Trundle. They had that deep ward in the bot river. Not bot river, the bot lane bush. Saw the Maokai, said, Maokai's down here for sure. Let's just rotate top. Take down the already pushing wave in top lane. Gets an early tower as well.
Yeah, the Camille and the Yorick are matched up. Yorick doesn't have flash. The Maokai has this easy point and click CC. Camille follow up, lots of damage. You want to get the Camille ahead. This Maokai needs to keep this Camille in this game because now with the turret down, up 30 CS on this Camille, Camille's going to be able to catch up. She's able to catch this huge wave. But you need to get that split pusher back in this.
Such a ridiculous lead, honestly, at this point. Nice little headbutt pulverize onto Percy. Gets half health with these auto attacks. It's not like a Braum where you can just keep on auto attacking and ooh, very nice little arrow. What's it called? It's like quivering, bladed quiver. No, this is W. Blight. Piercing arrow. There we go. Nice little piercing arrow. Bring him down to about 5th health. Draconic says, "This is my buff. Leave. Be gone."
Yeah, DYS only up by 300, but their win condition is doing well. The Yorick now able to 1v1 that Camille. He's going to have to play a little safer now that he's taken down that turret. He's going to be a little more on the side of BBC.
Ooh, and here comes the grasping roots onto OG Josh. OG Josh flashes it down, hovers it up by the second part of Maokai W, and Maokai just hanging up. He's very squishy. There's one last Pyroclasm comes down from Archineer to take him down. Very nice brand stun as well. Take down Draconic, and here comes Hugh with that Hex Tech ultimatum. Very nice run down.
Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate the brand had to tank, but it ended up working out. The Maokai took the turret aggro, but then used W and got out of the turret aggro, so then Brand picked it up, had to kind of back out there, but they end up getting the double kill. Was that a 2 for 0? No, it was a 2 for 1. So kind of evening the game back up. Camille making a great, roam down to get the assist there, kind of catch up to this Yorick. It looks like they're going to be collapsing on him. It looks like he's going to be able to get out of there.
It's nice that the kills went over to Camille, who will definitely need the kills to keep up with the Yorick, and to the Brand, who just snowball lead even further off Malzahar. On the other hand, Malzahar did not get the kill. Went over, and I said that Tristana got rooted up, forced to use the Buster Trap, and a piercing arrow does not get sniped. Here comes the teleport down from OG Josh. It seems the teleport cancelled.
Yeah, good play by the Tristana to, use the ultimate before she buffers her jump so that she can get that Varus away and keep that DPS away.
Yeah, definitely. Now, actually, silenced up. Umbreon wants this, but Maokai is here as well. Forced to flash out Brand Seer combo. Now it has become a more mid lane centric fight since the top lane turret is already dead.
Yeah,
It's not like laning phase is
The-
over yet, but
it almost feels like it is because this Yorick took down this turret so early. But top lane's kind of evened up. They're only 200 gold apart, whereas the mid lane, that Malzahar is 600 gold down. However, he's going to be useful no matter what with that ultimate.
Yeah,
you know,
of
able
course.
to pick anybody who dives in. If the Camille, jumps on them, he can just ult her until the X Tech
Q might be
ultimatum
taking
is
down a little bit low. Here comes that hookshot, taking him away now. I'm down onto Brand, keep the damage down, but Maokai just auto-attacking away. Pyroclasm finishes off the Malzahar, and the Malefic Visions is not enough to take down Archneer. Draconic wants to get the kill back. Doesn't have the flash, so it gets rooted up by Maokai and just has to walk away. Takes a turret shot.
Ooh,
Ooh,
but
here comes the
Yami here
flash.
as well.
Q from and I believe the Trundle what's the name of his ultimate? Like the sap subjugate was the killing blow onto the ramp.
And that takes damage pretty slowly, over 8 seconds. So Nami got him down real good. But great roam by the support, leaving the Tristana there to just clear waves. Good communication by them to stay safe away from the Alistar. It's an even game. I mean, it's a 100 gold difference right now. Same kills. Red side does have a turret. I like that the Maokai is focusing down that Malzahar. He's already behind by so much, and he's just, punishing and punishing as much as he can while that flash is down.
Yeah, definitely a good idea. However,
we
to
go
go
as a
back to your
flank.
earlier points. Oh, here comes the fight. The great chain of corruption onto the Nami. However, turning tidal wave keeps her alive for a little bit longer. Actually, gets stunned down by Aster, but trick shot is a little bit too far down. Ignite finisher off. There's the teleport down from Umbria. Takes down a lot of damage, but he's not tanking enough to tank the turret yet. Comes the Trundle as well. They can just force down turret. That's points 4v2. Rolanda comes in, does not have the nature's grasp yet, but Hugh wants to go in. Has the looks like Ultimatum, takes down Kramika. It's a 3v3 slugfest at this point. Umbria takes back down Hugh in return. Flash forced out of Sherman, and it seems like this fight just slowly winding down as, however, it seems like DYS keeps on going. Umbria does a ton of damage, dies to turret in the end. And it's really interesting there where we see the Nature's Grab stopping the minion wave, where it would have arrived a little bit earlier, therefore Archneer can't come down soon enough. OG Josh does not die to the brand burn, and Draconic has run for his life, uses the pillar. Don't let me die, wants to keep going, wants to get in range, does not have the flash, and Archneer gets the Pyroclasm stunned down from.
Whew!
Oh, he is alive. 20 health.
Take a break. Well done there. Just a crazy fight. Over and over, they kept coming in. It was kind of interesting while they were 3v3 under the turret. The Malzahar just kind of zoning the brand away. Neither of them able to get into that tri-bush without the vision necessary to kind of get in and help the fight. But then able to join at the end, kind of zone them away. Didn't pick up any kills that he wanted to. Still kind of anyone's game here. Traded mostly kills. They got one more, so they're up by 300. Some crucial shutdowns, but yeah, just we'll see where this goes.
A lot of kills went over Trundle, and onto different champion. I feel it gets harder and harder to try and make excuses for this Malzahar. It's not that it's playing particularly bad, he's getting out. He got counterpicked. However, you did say about how Malzahar doesn't need as much gold as Brand to be effective. He has the ultimates. But at this point, that's just about all he can do. He uses silence, he uses ult, and boom, he's done.
Ultimate bot, and he does have the TP, so they could set up the 1-3-1, except that he doesn't quite have the lead that he needs for that 1-3-1 to be effective. So I think they're really just going to want this Malzahar to be kind of supportive, be in the back. He's not going to die to that initial burst because of his passive, so he's going to be able to throw down those silences, throw down the ult anytime someone gets close to their Tristana, who's doing pretty well right now with the 0-0-4 scoreline, whereas the Varus is 0-2. Still up in farm, though. So once the Tristana gets that 3-item spike,
Oh, nice little
she's going to be
stuns.
dishing out a lot.
No segue. This game kind of reminds me of the way Team Liquid played at MSI. For those who don't know, in MSI, Team Liquid did not, to put it nicely, they did not perform to expectations, and that's partially due to Povich or mid lane. The few games where they were effective, he was on that Malzahar. to be effective without having the farm. And it feels like they have to do the same thing in this game where Team Liquid did in MSI.
Yeah,
They-
and something else, before we, bad talk this Malzahar too much, he did get
Yeah,
ganked
that's
those 2 times.
Definitely.
Oh, but
Well
we got
played by
huge
the Maokai too. And that's a very nice roots into knock up and the stun, just everything chained perfectly onto this Trundle. Karami Kid is forced to use the Nami ult to try to put some distance as the flash is down, does so effectively. But that was a very good CC learning from the side of Barnacle Boy Club. I believe it was...
Oh.
Oh. And here Umbreon goes for a little bit of dive, gets Hextech ultimatum. Decides to go back in with a hook shot. That was a poor choice right there. You do not walk back into a Malzahar. Not Malzahar, a Trundle that has... Trundle? Oh my god, I can't remember this champion's name. A Yorick, who's just up on you and kills an item and CS everything.
Yeah,
The whole
he's
time
already
the-
completed this Trinity Force.
Yeah, the whole-
Kind of was just feeling the damage, feeling like he could do it, he could be the hero, and he just comes up short.
However, it ended up being 1-4 trade because they did dive on the side of DYS and resulted in a kill and the turret itself. So
Yeah.
in the end, it was even trade, inner turret for outer turret, kill for kill.
But they're getting more gold onto this split pusher, which is part of their, win condition. Let this Yorick just kind of be on the outside. Camille can't join. She has to answer the Yorick. She can't join to make those dives onto the Tristana to keep her from hopping away. So if they can play it right, that's the advantage over to DYS.
Yeah. BC are looking to start up this Rift Herald now. They do have 3 members on the top lane as well as their jungler have 3 members on the side of BC are trying to collapse on here right now. Seems like they will not get there in
They've got
time.
the numbers advantage, 2 from DYS bot, but they get the turret. So they trade turret for Rift Herald.
Which is potentially one, potentially 2 turrets. So it's
It has the
Evenish?
potential, but 2 in the bush or 1 in the hand. I
is a
think
good point.
DYS, come up with the advantage here, and just an interesting play to kind of make the call to take that Rift Herald off the board so early. They still have 2 minutes to go out and take it. We'll see what they can. If they can make the play with this, then it becomes a positive. They also are going to get Dragon out. They give up
they're trying
Dragon.
to get Dragon,
because they
but the
took
only
that
guy is
top
here.
lane.
He has Smite down. And they do have vision on him. It just goes over. Maokai had no way of getting over the wall unless he wants to flash, and that's risky to say the least,
Yeah, a little too much risk for an Ocean Drake at this point, which, now that we're kind of out of laning phase, it doesn't have as much value. Always, some extra healing and mana regen is obviously very helpful.
Now, as this Varus dies, I'm just gonna... Ooh, very nice flash. Anyways, as this Varus dies, I'm gonna... this Varus just died. Very good play by Sherman to keep his AD carry alive. It's the exhaust and the flash. However, he might pay for his carry's life with his own.
He's
However,
got
Malphite's
both
coming down. This
junglers.
will be a dead work. Ooh, Umbria dodges out the Grasping Roots and the Dark Procession to dodge out all of...
Oh,
Okay, that was very well played by side of Yorick. And he's staying alive still. Gets one last kill. Oh my god. Just shows his
Umbria
match
making the
standard.
plays.
My god. What was I talking about before? Right. Going back to that Rift Herald segue into the Ocean Dragon play, it was very well played by DYS. As to say that the channel comes back in onto Hugh, but it's not enough to keep Archneer from killing off the Malzahar, and now they're trying to come around to Karma Kid as well, who does not have ultimate, but has the flash, so they decided not to go any further.
Did that Nami ultimate take Camille out of the Malzahar ultimate? It almost looked like Malzahar kind of canceled it a little early or something.
I think
Am I just
think
mistaken?
Nami
I might
tried
have been
to,
mistaken. I don't know the interaction if it takes it out.
I will be going a little bit farther back here. Oh no, I did go a little bit further back, but the Malzahar, the Camille was taking out Malzahar ultimate because the Bran landed his stun onto Malzahar,
Ah, gotcha.
and I missed like 20
Okay,
seconds of action.
so we're at 1930 and we have a
Yeah.
fight going
We
on
just
mid
had
lane.
Karma Kid just die there. Percy managed to get out with the flash, still has the heal, and now the Rift Herald is being channeled.
And this is a good play. This is where they can
it's a
make
very
back
good play.
those
Definitely will be one
losses
turret.
that they suffered. At least one turret. Maybe they can get 2 with the numbers advantage, but they've got York pushing back. Camille answering that, so hopefully she can hold that turret without getting tower dope.
Yep. This is risky though. Now,
Yeah, it looks like
that
they're
was
gonna
very
respect
good.
it.
Very good for them to react with the Rift Herald. No damage onto the inner turret.
Yeah, and so they essentially trade that Rift Herald for a turret.
Umbria
Turret
has
and
no
dragon.
respect, man. He just channeling his way back on top of a pink ward, gets dark precision onto the Camille to keep her down. But Umbria just has to. Umbria's in a tough position here. You know, he gets hit up by the chain and he's just taken down, no matter how fed he is. That's
Yeah,
not good
and
respect,
they're
honestly.
not going to lose too much. That turret was going to go down regardless.
She jumps
but,
in way
oh,
too
here we
far
go.
as Draconic flashes out. No communication there from the side of DYS as the AD carry just sort of
Yeah,
froze.
Percy hoping to get that reset and then jump back out, but not respecting the fact that the other team has a jungler.
Don't Let Me Die decides to go in, however, he does not have his ultimate anymore. Goes in a little bit too far. The Hexagon Omega comes in, stops Hugh by the tidal wave. Still gets a lot of damage down to OG Joss, but Karmik is doing very good, keeping his carries alive, and now Draconic's just slapping away, has the Trondo ultimate. Not exactly, no, he just does a lot of damage.
I feel so bad for Shredderman there. You know, he's trying to make plays around the map, and he essentially has to trade his life for the Camille's because Camille says, you know what, I want to go in 1v3. Granted, she had the Maokai there with her, but
That's Camille's still here. This is a very risky. She still has a hook shot, so she'll be safe, but really playing with fire here.
yeah, not paying a lot of respect to the other team. Still so even right now. It's really going to be who can get that first Baron, who can set up the vision in that jungle. Looks like they're going to start trying to make their way over there, put those wards down, and try to keep the top side of the field blank for the side of BBC so that they can make a pick and then turn to Baron.
Yeah, definitely. The area around Baron is slightly warded for side of beast. However, Baron itself and the lower part of the river is not. So, and as they say that, they're collapsing on Surge, right? Hugh takes a little bit of damage, but as we look over, that Varus is just dead fish. Boom.
You know, that's a lack of respect because he just saw that vision get cleared. I think he thinks he has that control ward, so you know he can see them coming in, but he doesn't have any vision on his jungle. Just kind of a lack of concentration.
Now here comes the duel in the bot lane. Nice little hook shot to get Hugh out. However, those little ghouls just follow you anywhere, and Hugh's in a tough place. There is no flash. There's the flash still left up for the Camille. No flash on the Yorick. So Yorick
Despite the
does
kill
not-
on Varus, DYS give up the vision on the Baron. Hopefully they can get that back if they want to close this game out for themselves.
Decided to pick on the AD carry was simply not enough in order to stop Baron. And here comes the continued duel in the bot lane. Hugh still has that flash. Might have to use. Oh, huge disrespect. I saw that. The camera was on Camille. Her hook shot just came back up. She had flash up. Decides to go back in when she was on 100 health.
I think she thinks the Varus or the brand is there to save her, but she's done that a couple times now.
Now they see the Baron on the bottom side. The Camille is dead. That will be a 3v4 at max and tops and the Baron as we see the fight break out now. Nice tidal wave.
Oh, and the Nami will come in.
Chronic's still live and Umbria's just diving out here. Doesn't really care, honestly. As a dead brand and rest of DYS chasing out the rest of the BBC. Don't Let Me Die goes and tries to do what he can. Percy dies to Surge trick shot. Now that Varus is free firing in the backside. Nobody touched him in the end. Gets a double kill. And that is a root down. Draconic will soon be a triple kill, no doubt.
Oh, way
And
to
Hugh
turn
actually
that around.
respawned. And they managed to turn that around. And in the end, Umbria died too due to Hugh respawning. That is a if we count.
Gotta
Hugh's
watch those
death,
timers.
That's like what, a 2 for 4 then? It's not worth.
Oh,
Sherman dies to Baron. That is
That is quite
Yeah,
unfortunate. He was slowed
30%
down.
health to take out a little bit. It's very, very chaotic fight right now, but slowly but surely, Baron will go over the side of BBC.
Yeah, how did that turn around? Nami had such a great ultimate at the end to... I guess it's just they have a lot of gold on that Yorick right now, so the rest of the team just doesn't quite have the battle capacity yet. Feeling that Malzahar,
Malzahar
deficit right now, with the Tristana not quite at the 3 items yet, I get the Varus just able to put the damage out and save their chances. Because, if the Nami ultimate disrupts them enough, they're able to get all those kills. They take the Baron, and then they're in the driver's seat. But now, all they get for their efforts is a dragon.
Yeah, nice little double on Ocean Dragon though. Next dragon will be a Inferno Dragon, so that that'll be the last dragon, most important dragon to watch. Infernal Dragon. It's not. It's a little bit flashier than Ocean Dragon. I have to say.
Just a little bit.
And here's the thing you were talking about, the Malzahar being so behind. Since this Malzahar is so behind, and his presence isn't really felt other than an occasional ult or two, BBC did not have to pay the Malzahar tax, and therefore they have been keeping up in their builds. They never had to build a single QSS, none of that.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
it just
and
burned them in unseen ways.
the Maokai, it's turned out to be a great pick for them. He's putting a lot more pressure in than he was with the Warwick.
Ooh,
It
goes
was,
in very
you know,
deep with the Hextech ultimate onto Percy. Percy ults back with the Butcher shot, and now sidelines. Conix, this is still a 45. Crummy Kid uses his tidal wave as a last stand. Sort of dies for it. Hugh goes in as well as Maokai. Maokai gets channeled on by the Hextech. It's all over the place right now. The most important thing is this Varus is still shooting at it, but Umbria is looking to just trade it. Ooh, nice little cute little flash from Percy. It actually wasn't enough to stay alive. He lives in the end.
Hugh
And
putting those mechanics
Umbria's
to work.
trying to base race them. He's not gonna be able to do it. I mean, this is a baroned up wave, and no, the minions are spawning for side of DYS. The minions are pushing in, and Umbria can stay actually. Nami has respawned, however, honestly, Umbria is really back. This is really, really close. Base racing, Umbria, camera flashing back and forth. Crummy Kid doing what he can. Actually, almost takes down Shurden with that ignite, and the base exposed. It's too late. DYS will
It's so
lose
close.
this game unless Umbria.
Oh! 200.
DYS. The BBC loses
Wow.
this game 200. Oh my god, man.
Wow.
What the hell?
Oh man. What a game. Back and forth, back and forth. Oh. Jeez, and York almost the hero. If he could have just got a couple more autos or Qs in, would have ended the series. But now we are going to game 3. Who would you say is your MVP for this game?
Like what? What was that? In real talk though, I would have to give my MVP over to Don't Let Me Die. This game's performance was in such. Honestly,
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
his performance was just compared to the last game, just
It was night and
completely
day.
night and day.
Yeah. The Varus put in so much work, but the Maokai got in there, kept OG Josh from being anything but an ultimate bot, kept his team from having to pay that Malzahar tax that you were talking about. Got the the brand ahead, so the brand could do that damage, and was able to. We didn't get to see how the team fight turned around at the Baron, but being able to, keep that Varus alive and let that Varus do what he needed to do to win the game. Yeah, I agree with you there that Don't Let Me Die gets the MVP.
Now,
All right.
looking back at the game, it's just
Go ahead.
yeah, it's more than I can think about, so I'm not gonna. How about you?
What is that?
Oh no, I think we need some better minds on this than us to talk
Some
about this
better
game.
minds than ours.
analyze this.
We're just the casters here.
Yeah,
Let's
just
pass
talk
it over
about
to the analyst desk.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Risen Dominate Analyst Desk. I am still Steven Return Johnson, and I'm still here with Keochin and Dylan. And I think I speak for all of us when I said this is not how we envisioned this game ending.
Yeah, for sure.
That's an understatement, dude.
That is insane how BBC managed to turn that and how close it was in general. It's just insane to watch.
Yeah, to give you guys a little insight into what we were doing on our end, we actually, the game was spoiled for us a little bit. We do have knowledge of when the game ends. We just don't know how it ends. And at 24 minutes, we saw the game ended, and we were just like, all right, how the heck does this game actually end? But I have to say, that was a heart stopper, especially for how well Umbrea was doing. And then he just wasn't able to finish it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Umbria was just playing his heart out. 1v2s, 1v3s, it didn't matter. He was outplaying them constantly, and in the end, it just wasn't enough. I mean, the call to split push there instead of recalling basically the team, the call for DYS to actually walk up and defend full on instead of just, disengaging. I mean, all of it's questionable, and it's really sad to see Umbria lose.
Yeah, but I mean, that will put us through into this game 3, but let's break that game down starting from the very beginning. I think the first thing we have to talk about here is the jungle matchup. I mean, Let Me Die was on that Maokai. I personally haven't seen a successful Maokai in quite some time, but he even got that first Rift Sculler, albeit that was traded back and forth with a very ambitious dive in the bottom lane by DYS.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think both junglers played styles that we weren't expecting from them. The Maokai style was a little more conventional, but it was on a Maokai, and the Trundle style of going bot of making a bot side gank before he had done his first buff clear was unprecedented. That's not something you're ever going to expect to see in a jungler.
Yeah, that Trundle gank bot lane really was not something that BBC was expecting at all. I mean, it paid off really well. They got a kill onto Sarah, and they got all 4 summoners down. They even got Camille, TP, and Flash down, and Camille died too. So it was super good. And honestly, DYS was in the driver's seat because of that. But then, as you were talking about earlier, returned, Maokai just kind of dragged them along with it into that game, and he dragged them back into contention.
Yeah, but I do have to say here, as we do have the analytics, the stats on screen for you guys, look over at the right, look at that damage graph. I think what's very telling is where all of that damage actually was for DYS. It was all on top lane. It was all on Yorick, and he was never with them in a fight. And it felt like, yeah, sure, he had the most successful split push we've seen here in quite some time, but it didn't matter when the rest of the team was just going in for fights.
I think looking past the top lanes and how much they were able to shake up the game, I want to take a look at Sarah's build path on the Varus with the Rage Blade into Nashor's Tooth, and you can imagine how little she was contained in the bot lane to be able to put out those numbers of damage without ever reaching a real kind of build power spike beyond just the Rage Blade. And so I think as that game goes and she picks up more and more items, she does get to a point where she's dealing more and more damage, but she's just free hitting. Nobody's ever on top of her or stopping her.
Precisely. I mean, you do still have the engage with Malzahar. You have the engage with the Trundle as well, but it just wasn't enough. Nobody could actually go down and shut down Sarah trick shot. Though I do have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of this build. So this is that AP Varus build, but you already have the AP damage in the mid lane with the brand. Do you really not need that much AD? Can you really rely on Hero in the top lane to just carry out the physical damage for you?
I think there's something to be said for it. I think with when Kaisa came out and people were experimenting with builds, and you came upon that Death Stance, Nashor's, Rageblade, an entire plethora of items that could make this on-hit / AD carry style of build work. And I think that there's definitely a way to say that, oh, that could translate over to a Kog'Maw, that could translate over to a Varus. I don't think it does as well, but it paid off in this case.
Yeah, and we saw the power of the Varus build in that Baron fight where DYS had Umbria in the bot lane, and they thought if they just started Baron, they could turn and they'd win the 4v3 fight. But Sarah hard carried that fight. It was 4v3. They were down a member because Brand was in the bottom lane responding to Umbria's split push, and she still pumped out the damage, managed to kill everybody, and they just turned it into a Baron for themselves, and that's really the turning point of this game.
That's right. So, and I mean, all the game just played out. It felt like it was always the top lane winning Umbria 1v2ing, 1v3ing at times, but it just didn't matter when the rest of the team was unable to hold up, and leading to that absolutely heart-stopping, heart-wrenching base race. Was there a call? Was there a play that DYS could have done there to actually pull out the win?
I believe so. I believe that that Tristana got caught out early, and that's where the problem happened. She got Camille ulted in between the second turret and the inhib turret, and that was the start of the undoing there. They didn't need to step forward to defend the inner turret, and if they could have waited a little longer because the pressure was building up with the Yorick in the enemy base, and I think that the pressure accumulation of the Yorick might have been able to tip if DYS was able to hold on just a little bit longer.
Yeah, and here you guys can actually see the replay on your screen. It got so incredibly closer at the end. The entire time you're like, oh shoot, is he actually able to pull this one through?
Yeah.
Once Percy wins down, there's just not much left that you can do. Sure, A valiant effort for certain going down for Crown Me Kid, but there's only so much you can do at that point in time. And once the Nexus is that low already, there's just nowhere left to go.
Yeah, it was incredibly close. It was down to the wire, and just the littlest things in that kind of a situation, the pressure on you, especially the team shot callers and the people actually calling for these plays, whether it's, don't recall, whether it's keep going, the pressure is on you because it's do or die. And the call you make either wins you the game or loses you the game. And in BBC's case, the call to continue pushing, the call to not worry about Yorick, and the fact that Brand could stall for long enough when he spawned, it turned out to be a great call. And they won barely, and they had just enough damage to take down the Nexus right before Umbria could.
All right, guys, before we put game number 2 behind us and look forward to a now forced game 3, who do you guys have to say are your MVPs for the match? Keochin, starting with you.
It's going to have to be the Maokai in the jungle. There's endless talk about how unconventional that is, and there's so many theories as to why that just wouldn't work on the 8.10 patch. But then, even from the beginning, and I want to call out this play, like Camille teleports down bot lane and dies and burns her flash, and so that's free time for Yorick on the top lane. But no, Maokai takes Trundle's red buff, and Maokai shows up there, and he somehow makes a good early game play off of the champion he's picked.
Definitely a great point. But Dylan, over to you. Who do you think the man of the match is?
I got to give it to Sarah Trickshot. I think that her play in those later mid-game fights definitely was what was turning the tide. She pumped out way more damage than Percy did, and she was just that consistent DPS threat. She won them the fight near Baron, and just in general, she played super well in some of those mid-game fights, and I think she was what really solidified the comeback and the eventual victory for them.
Sarah doing an absolutely phenomenal job, but personally, my heart was swayed just that little bit more by Don't Let Me Die in the Jungle. I was one of those people who had very many reservations about Maokai Jungle. I've had a hugely bad experience with it, just watching it over the amateur scene when it was last popular quite a few patches back, but it felt like without Don't Let Me Die there, without him playmaking in the early to mid game, there wouldn't have been a response coming out at all from Umbera. From Umbera, there wouldn't have been plays going down across the map. And sure, it was the rest of the team who picked up the pace once it got to the mid game, once you got that Rage Blade out, once you got just everyone starting to come into their own. But without Don't Let Me Die, I don't think they get there in the end. So that's going to have to be my vote. But guys, make sure you do stick around. We are going to go to a short intermission before we get back and ready for game number 3 and the conclusion of DYS versus the Barnacle Boy Club. Somebody eventually has to win. But until then, guys, make sure you guys come back in just a bit. We'll be right here. And welcome back, guys, to our 1-in-1 match in series right here at Risen Esports, the Dominate series. My name is Steven Return Johnson, and we are still here, of course, with Keochin and Dylan on the desk. And guys, after that absolutely crazy game number 2, how does BYS come back for game number 3?
I think we need to see a return to form from their game 1. We saw glimmers of it. We saw the Umbria dominance. We just did not see the same dominance in the bot lane. They need to draft the winning bot lane. And with Percy's pool being pinched like it was, with the Caitlyn ban, with the Kai'Sa ban, things like that, it's hard to draft the winning bot lane, but I think they need to find the formula to get bot pressure if they want to win the game, because top pressure is not enough.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. The key difference between the first 2 games for DYS was that DY was that they just didn't have the control over the bot side. I think you do what you did in game one. You put the mid lane, you put Josh on a control utility based mid laner. You put Umbreon on a split pusher, and you give bot lane something that can hold their own in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, perfectly so. And now that they are actually on the blue side here, are there any big picks that they either need to really first pick or ban away from this Barnacle Boys Club squad?
I think if you are the side of DYS, you either need to look toward picking Varus yourself or banning it away from Sarah Trickshot. We saw her be a little ineffective on the Tristana, and we see BBC is the type of team to ban the Caitlyn, probably ban the Kai'Sa, things like that. They shouldn't be worried about that. The only thing they should be worried about from her is that Varus. So if they get that out of her hands, bot pressure should be back in DYS's favor.
Yeah, and I mean, Varus is one of those champions where you can get away with a very economically friendly build. Of course, the Rage Blade, not the most expensive item in the game, but you can get so much value out of that. Whereas, like, when she was on the Tristana, or Caitlyn, when she was on Tristana, rather, she didn't ever come into the game until way too late on. So maybe that is the way you find your way back. But now I do want to turn our attention over towards that mid lane. We did mention it a little bit before about putting OG Josh on one of the safer picks in the mid lane. Is there something they can do where maybe they get a better matchup in the mid lane? Because now twice in a row he's been put on utility carries, has been put quite far behind. In game number 2 is what, especially on the Malzahar, it really didn't feel like he was doing anything.
I think you just throw him on. You throw him on another low econ mid laner. The Zillion worked out. He fell behind, but the Zillion worked out perfectly. And I think you put him on the Zillion, you put him on something like a Karma, even maybe. That's shown to work in the mid lane. That's definitely low econ, and you can support your team with that. So I think that's one of the types of picks they'd want to look for, Josh.
And we are getting now into our last set of picks and bans. For you guys, reminders, DYS is going to be on the blue side for this game, whereas BBC are on the red. And already, Kai'Sa still being the ADC ban away of choice, but now there's also a Lux ban coming at DYS.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see the third ban Caitlyn from BBC side. Kai'Sa banned from DYS, afraid of Sarah trick shots, and they're not too confident in Percy's Kai'Sa, so makes a little bit of sense from there. We'll see what the third ban for DYS is.
Yeah, and Arcanier's most played mid laner is in fact Lux. We saw his brand, his second most played, but Lux, and we saw how powerful he could be on that champion, and so Lux is definitely a priority ban.
Yeah, potentially maybe even seeing the brand being banned away as it had so much utility. Though it does look like DYS are going to sacrifice their ban in the first stage this time. I mean, last 2 games they've been giving up one of their tier 2 bans, but this time they don't need it in the first rotation. They're going to use it in the second.
Yeah, definitely an interesting take, swapping their ban loss from the second phase to the first phase, but it makes sense because letting yourself have more flexibility with the counter picks, the second rotation, good choice.
Exactly, and they will be left with one of those counter pick positions, but already the Caitlyn being banned away as well does mean that we might be seeing Percy continuing to fall down that priority list. Tristana, of course, still available. Varus, if they want to take it for themselves, but that is a Kha'Zix Cho'Gath duo, and boy, our neutral objectives going to be melting with this team.
Yeah, might just be Varus Nami rotation here. It would make a lot of sense. Takes the Varus away and gets Kid on the Comfort Nami, but we'll see what they end up picking. Tristana, the pick again. Would not surprise me to see Sarah just respond with Varus third pick.
Certainly a very bold choice given the results of last game, but it's not like there weren't chances for Percy to get ahead. It just felt like none of them were really taken up on.
I do like the Trundle first pick. I think Trundle has been effective for DYS in both of their first 2 games, and I don't see any reason why they should swap from doing such.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Karma being locked in here is potentially that flexible pick. I mean, we already mentioned this going over to OG in the mid lane, but could also go down to the bot lane support as well. And we do see Varus getting locked in one more time, but with the pick up of the Trundle once more, you got to ask, how does this work out again? I mean, this is twice in a row now. Should potentially be the more aggressive jungler, should be the one that's finding the lead, but every single game, it feels like he just gets out jungled in the early portion.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if DYS is swapping towards the Trundle flex picks towards the top lane. It's what we thought was going to happen last game, but I think it actually may happen this game because Trundle into Cho'Gath is a very strong matchup. Trundle into Kha'Zix is a very bad matchup. So able to flex that Trundle towards top, they could pick a jungler Olaf, something that does well into Kha'Zix, and have a little more flexibility there.
It looks like that the Barnacle Boys Club are also going to be missing one of their bans. Not quite sure the reason. Cho'Gath already existing in the top lane, and there's still the Mordekaiser, there's still the Nasus, and there's still even the potential for that very out there Mordekaiser. If you Mord, Nasus, and Yorick, all three still on the board. Do you actually take any of those three champions into the Cho'Gath matchup?
I think Umbria is comfortable picking any of them. I think Nasus is likely because super easy gank setup from a Cho'Gath. Kha'Zix's easy ganker. But I feel like if he's ever going to whip out the Mordekaiser, I feel like in a game 3 where he wants just pure comfort, two missing bans. I think it's because they probably had an E-sub come in. Maybe one of their players had to leave for something, and they got a substitute for him, and because of that, they lose 2 bans since it's no time before the match. So.
And that's really going to hurt because that is the whole pool up and available for a very dominant top laner. I don't want to know what happens when you give this man his most played pick, let alone just the 2 and 3 spots on that list, but we'll have to see. BBC, though, will be getting the counter pickup in this matchup. They can choose to hold off on the mid lane pick, maybe wait to see if that Karma is actually going to support role, or rather, they can wait for the support. But looks like the Thresh getting locked in already, and boy, the Barnacle Boy Club, they're maybe looking to get really aggressive, but remember, that should still be the Silver 2 support, unless that's who their E-sub is for.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the Thresh pick is definitely a confidence pick in most situations. I would have liked to see the Braum. It didn't work out necessarily as much in game 1, but I think with the attack speed steroids that Varus naturally gets and through items, I think that's definitely a strong synergy matchup in the bot lane.
Got locked in.
Urgot, all right. So still definitely looking for some top lane dominance here, especially against something like a Cho'Gath. I mean, that could be putting Cho behind quite early, but I still don't know if it's quite the level of split push that was the Nasus, it was the Auric, or maybe he's even looking to turn this game a lot more towards the team side.
Yeah, Zilean locked in. Very similar comp to their game 1 victory. Dominant top laner, even more dominant than the Nasus for certain. Zilean mid lane, the Karma, and the pushing ADC bot lane, and the Trouble jungle. It's a return to success for DYS in this game.
And that's going to be the lock-in coming out from the Boston Boy Club. Talia going to be coming here to finish out the comp, and this is also definitely a change away. I mean, each and every game for BBC, they've been finding the advantage of mid lane. It's been kind of questionable whether they've been able to spread it around. Game 1, Veigar looked like he could basically turn around some team fights, maybe with just a little bit too little too late. Game 2, Brand still supplied plenty of damage, helped win those team fights at the very end of the game, but now we are trying to move that advantage all over the map with the Talia pick.
Yeah, you take note of the pattern that BBC's had in the games where they were able to get their advantages in the mid lane with the CS deficits, with the kill deficits. Now, with the Talia pick, they can take those, they roam, the Weaver's Wall is perfect for that, and they can spread the advantage to the other side of the map before DYS mid laner is able to actually do anything, like, just at all throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a good point to bring up. Karma versus Talia would not surprise me to see the Karma go towards the banner or command route. It's a really strong item in the Talia. Talia has a really hard time clearing out banner minions. She's pretty much forced to take minion dematerializer, which she normally does take sometimes, but if she's ever not there to respond, you get pretty heavy turret damage, so would not surprise me to see OG Josh go down that route.
Yeah, and now for a little bit of speculation, if this is in fact an emergency substitute, which position could benefit the most from getting that fresh blood, from getting that new player?
I mean, otherwise they just put a Silver 2 player on Thresh. I would assume that the sudden change in style of gameplay they're looking for here from the Braum to the Thresh, I would say that implies a change in support players.
Definitely not out of the question, I'd say. That's probably more likely than not. And that's going to be the Varus Thresh lane into that Tristana plus Karma. And I mean, yeah, you're going to get some pushing power with the Karma, but Varus plus Thresh as the counter to that lane. Not even mention Talia. How aggressively is this bottom lane for DYS going to be able to play? We talked about them trying to win the game through the bottom lane again. Is that feasible right now?
It's certainly going to be rough. Trundle's going to have to hover towards the bottom side. Zillion's going to have to try his best to get that lane pressure mid. But yeah, I mean, Talia should have the shove on Zillion, and it's definitely going to be hard because with the threat of the Weaver's Wall, with the threat of the Kha'Zix roaming down, maybe Cho'Gath teleport. We've seen multiple teleports from Hiyu up or down into the bottom lane. Would not surprise me to see DYS play a little on the back burner. They want to push up with the Karma, they want to push up with the Tristana, but it's just too scary with the Thresh Gang setup.
Yeah, now before we do throw it over to our third and final game of the night between Barnacle Boys Club and DYS, gotta ask you guys once again for a little bit of rapid fire rounds. What is each team's win condition still? We'll start with you, Kyo-Chin, for BBC.
I think BBC. I think they play through the bottom lane again. Sarah trick shots. Varus was really, really well done last game, and being able to and Thresh is definitely a perfect champion for that snowball style that they're looking for. So if they can get early advantage in the bot lane, I think they can seal it through there.
And turning over to you, Dylan, now, DYS, how do they come back, deny the reverse sweep, and grab this first set of their series?
I think that as long as Trundle can pace well with this Kha'Zix, as long as he doesn't fall behind in levels and gold and experience, I think DYS should just win through winning lanes. Urgot's going to roll over top lane as he's done in the last 2 games. Zillion's probably going to be a little behind the Talia, but it's not like he's getting solo killed or anything like that. And Tristana Karma's just got the inherent advantage over Varus Thresh. So I think as long as they play to their team comp strengths, they should come out with a victory.
And you guys heard it here first. This is going to be it for our pregame coverage over here at the Risen Esports Dominate Champion Series Analyst Desk. We will be back to you guys right after game number 3 for a little bit of post-game and post-series analysis. But until then, guys, we're going to throw it over to the casters and get ready for game number 3. Someone's got to win.
All right, and here we go for game 3 between the Barnacle Boy Club and Dyslectic Denefnetters. I'm never going to be able to get that on the first try. So I am Shady Echo, and I am joined here by Eldwist. How are you doing tonight, Eldwist?
Yeah, I did not expect this to go game 3.
Yeah, after
But here we are.
a back and forth game 1, but decidedly on one side, to another really close game. You always at multiple points in the game, I thought this team's going to win or this team's going to win, but then in the end, it's a base race down to 200 health. So it has been. You've been shouting these play-by-plays. They've been back and forth, long fights. I can understand you being a little tired. So we are moving into game 3, though. What do you think of these compositions?
Now, game 3, here's the interesting thing about game 3. Barnacle Boy Club, they thought, let's throw a curveball, throw a wrench in their works. They subbed out Hugh. They subbed in Elite Slayer for a top lane. Now, he has a different champion pool, different play style. I'm just going in blind for this one. The person who more or less carried the first 2 games for a side of DYS, he has to just start all over again. And this time on new champion duo. That's not something you see him play very often.
Yeah, and he kind of gets the feel for the enemy champion, so he knows when he can go in, when that person's going to go in. Now it's something new, and I don't know if Elite Slayer's been watching. Probably not, but it's going to be the same thing for him. So it'll be interesting who can take the lead in this top lane. But would you like to introduce our blue side?
Now, coming on blue side, we are back to the same as game 1. Umbria on Urgot in top lane, Draconic on Trundle, same as game 1 and game 2. In jungle, OG Josh back to Zillion lane, Percy 1803 on Tristana, coming by Crown Me Kid back to Karma in support.
And on the side of BBC, we've got Elite Slayer, the new sub. We'll see how he can do on the Cho'Gath. Don't Let Me Die, back to an aggressive jungler on the Kha'Zix. Arcaneer on the Talia in mid lane. Sarah Trickshot back to the Varus, she did very well on it in the second game. And Shreddermen's 57 looking to make some plays on the Thresh. Now, both teams lining up a little interestingly. They're not doing the 5-point start. I wonder if this is a late invade or if they're just expecting the invade. I think they were just expecting the invade from the Thresh, looking to kind of 5-man that bush. But neither team's looking for vision, both just kind of pacing out, letting this game start in kind of a casual manner. Everything's on the line here for this game 3.
And so, even though you say everything's online, these team comps look a little skewed towards. Personally, I think it's skewed towards DYS. Sorry, not DYS, BBC in this case.
Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, the side of DYS has this kind of run at you comp that they played in the first game with that Zillion and the Karma, with the Tristana able to follow up. But on the side of BBC, they have everything to say, no, you're not coming in. With the Thresh ultimate, Thresh play, Thresh hook, Varus ultimate, Talia, she's got her knockback, she's got her Weaver's Wall. Cho'Gath, he's got his knockup, his slows, his silence. They have a lot to kind of shut down that run at you cop. But again, on the other hand, this is Dominate, and compositions depend on the players able to play them. So, if big leads can happen any lane, that could kind of shut down. If they get the big lead in the top lane, if they get the big lead in the bot lane, DYS can use that run at you comp to just take out anybody they see.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very poking down Elite Slayer very quickly. It was nice little back a little bit. Both top laners very low. Neither one went corrupting potion, so stay at this low.
Way to trade back for that Cho'Gath. But he takes a hit.
This is really interesting in the top lane. They're doing the same comp, like you said, as they did in game 1, but they have an Urgot instead of Nasus. And we both know what the Nasus man should do in game 1, but it'll be hard to tell if this Urgot will be able to keep up to that same level. Nice little hook onto Percy. There's up to no avail, however.
Yeah, actually take quite a bit of damage back. The Kha'Zix kind of just looking around. Looks like the Trundle was able to get the jump on him.
Yeah, Kha'Zix actually invading. They actually see each other in the jungle now. Dire Straits here because of the isolation passive. Oh, Kha'Zix does not yet have the jump, and he actually takes a lot of damage from Q auto and gets hit up. This is very, very tough for Don't Let Me Die here.
Yeah, as the stronger, early game jungler looking to make those plays across the map, losing that, going into the jungle level 2, very disrespectful.
Very risky.
Especially since the Zillion has that speed up to get to him. He's level 2 while the mid laner's level 4.
Yeah. And honestly, this might signal, it's really early to tell, of course, that's not even 4 minutes in, but this might signal the way this game goes. It feels a lot like the first game where Don't Let Me Die is playing the aggressive jungler. He feels compelled to make those aggressive plays in order to be effective on champion, and he's not doing it properly because that's not the playstyle that he has. A very, very poor game in top lane, almost being a double kill for Elite Slayer.
Well played by Cho'Gath, not even burning his flash, shows some excellent poise that maybe Haru would not have had. But able to just kind of ward that off, and he's got a 7 farm lead to show for it.
Definitely doing a lot better than he did last time. And to know, Umbria also already burned his flash, not fast, or to come back to lane. Still down CS, still low health. It's like he burned his teleport for nothing.
It's Cho'Gath playing with fire, and he goes
Ooh,
down.
that's nice. However, it's a trade kill there.
Oh, executed. Though.
Execution. Wow, that's clean in a.
Yeah,
That was like dirty but clean by
respect
Umbria.
that flash. Maybe he was trying to bait it and then dodge, but you don't have Cho'Gath. You're a big boy.
Like this is Umbria's one of his trademark things where he can do. He is very proficient at knowing the exact limits of his champion. He has done plays where sometimes they just die by slivers of health. Sometimes they live by slivers of health. I'm talking like health. Sometimes they just barely make it. And he's good at knowing those limits.
Yeah, able to, if the Cho'Gath gets one more minion killed near with his abilities to get that passive regen back, maybe he doesn't die to that. But yeah, when you're back in at that low, you want to be out of range of the flash Q.
Definitely. Now this bot lane is the sort of least excitable place. Shredderman tries his best to make some plays, but they never really seem to work out as Karma has a lot of early game damage. Up, down, surge, trick shot when Varus comes in. So CS pretty even. Health pretty even. Neither side use summer spells. It's pretty low key here in the bot lane for once.
Yeah, it really is. Thresh trying to make those hook plays, but not getting anything yet. Trundle's trying to sneak into this bot lane.
I'm pretty sure he was unseen.
Oh,
Yeah, they don't notice. Oh, nice little pillar. Forces the flash out surge trick shot and does not get the tether down from the Karma, however. So another flash. Nice hook on the side of Shredderman, however, does not hook him underneath the range of the turret. The Flay was either gone or something. And here comes Archineer coming on top side, but did not ride the wave down. Elite Slayer might actually end up dying. Umbria does not have flash, and Elite Slayer ends up dying. Umbria survives. Just
Arcaneer kind of baited Elite Slayer there a little
Yeah,
bit.
he did. He
using the
canceled
ultimate and then not
his-
riding it. Must have been an
Right.
accident.
must have been, and in the end, just really messes it up. Umbria getting taken down lower, but Archineer doesn't have damage. Look at the damage on those burst shots. Umbria's in a really, really risky place right now.
So is Arcaneer, getting away with barely enough HP. Kha'Zix's kind of just trying to farm back up from that early deficit. Does have a 10 CS lead, not so much anymore, as Trundle grabs one of those all-important scuttle crabs. And as we were mentioning in the first game, those scuttles, at the beginning are really only worth the same as any other camp. But as they go up in level, they gain a lot more experience, a lot of gold. They get to 140 gold by the end, so that's almost half of the kill. And securing those gets you the vision, gets you the experience lead, and gets you, a sizable gold lead as well. So Trundle doing a nice job those away from arguably the better duelist with Don't Let Me Die's Kha'Zix.
Definitely. He's been keeping a 400 gold lead ever since. Now, the first dragon this time, same as the second game, is an ocean dragon. That's partially the reason why we've seen such a slow bot lane compared to, of course, the first game. But I would really like to see the side of BBC take this. The ocean dragon works great miracles for the comp. You know, allows
Especially
them
for
to
the
stay.
Cho'Gath, yeah.
Definitely for Cho'Gath.
And arguably, it also works for the Urgot, able to kind of push the Cho'Gath off. You know, he takes some damage from the Cho, makes a trade, walks back. Cho'Gath doesn't have too much to chase him, with him being able to just jump away if he needs to.
Definitely true.
With also his slows, able to easily proc those on a Cho'Gath once he starts getting those stacks on his ultimate.
Now we see mirrored ganks coming down. Don't let me die. Standing on pink ward, so nobody knows the bug is there. He is also level 6, so he has that visibility as he comes out. However, Trundle is in top side, also not seen, but Umbria has the lane pushed in. So it's
See
potentially
who can
Trundle
make
will be
this.
very
You know, I
effective.
kind of Kazakhs. They don't have any vision in that river. Oh, and we've got a lantern that was unsuccessful. But here we go.
And going in. How they don't pull Elite Slayer back, has the Fear Beyond Death and pulled in. That's just nasty.
Yeah, didn't quite have his flash back up. Burned it earlier in that fight. That he
Yeah,
also
so
lost his life
now
too. So
it's not
Umbria getting this lead. Kazakhs at least soloing the Ocean Drake so they can have some late game advantage. And she rides it this time.
Arcania rides this time, but maybe he shouldn't need to. Shouldn't need to keep
He's just
these two
gonna
off.
walk
Umbria
away.
taking into her a little bit.
At least they get a dragon for the kill, so they've got something for their troubles. Cho'Gath gonna start losing this split push pretty hard though. Thankfully,
dragon.
with his ultimate, he can scale up a little bit. But
Yeah.
as we were talking about at the start, while BBC does have the better, oh here we go.
Gets hooked in
Nice
very.
hit.
Also the flay, also by the box, also just hit. Just very good chain and very poor respect from Percy.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure where Crown Me Kid was to give him the speed up or give him a block on that hook. I guess he just wanted to get one last shot, and Thresh said, "Oh, okay, come to me."
Now here's an interesting thing. Cho'Gath as Cho'Gath scales would do good against almost every other top laner, except for Urgot. His passive deals percentage health, max health damage, and as a result, it doesn't matter how tanky it gets. He's gonna need a lot of armor in order to sustain against this Urgot.
Yeah, and if he does build a lot of armor, then actually that does work out. I was gonna say he'll be susceptible to maybe the AP damage, but the side of DYS does not have a lot of AP damage. So Cho'Gath should build the Warmogs, and maybe it looks like he's going towards Randuin's, maybe a Thornmail actually, which can counter the Urgot pretty well.
I'm gonna call it right here. Trundle will build on Zeke's convergence, and he should. They're going for a dive here on the bot lane. Does a very low turret. Puts down a ward for Umbria to teleport in, and they're going in 5 men in the bot lane. Nothing can stop him. Dragonic has the ultimate on him, but it's not procced, and as a result, everybody dies. At least Slayer teleports in, but too little, too late. He is focused down by 5% himself. Ends up feasting onto the Trundle, so he gets one trade kill, but the turret is dead, and so is the Cho'Gath. Archinier comes in, but also a little bit too late. Percy does not choose to jump, and for safety's sake, and decides to just take this 3-for-1 and the turret. Now, the Talia and the Kazakhs are trying to clean traps, and very good by the Talia. Takes down Umbria really quickly. Percy is forced to jump out, taking heavy poke from Talia. They still want to keep going. This is really risky. Talia goes in, very nice flash by Percy to get himself out of the damage. He still finishes off with that Unraveled Earth. Traded back
Keep
now.
going, keep going.
Crown Me Kid jumps on, gets the kill. OG Josh gets the bomb down. Now that will be a dead Kazakhs. Question is, will he get the trade kill? He will not. That is in the end a 4-for-5.
Wow. And almost getting people from death coming in. But I want to point out the Kazakhs, while late, was at least able to pick up a couple of trade back kills and keep that from being an absolute disaster. Talia getting in there nicely, able to do a lot of damage and enable that Kazakhs to catch up and get those couple of kills to keep the lead from getting too far out of hand. But now they're down a turret, and in that bot lane where Sarah Trickshot, needs to be safe, needs to play where the Trundle can't, get to her. And it looks like they're going to trade and just start trying to knock these towers down with Tristana. They're not even worried about, fighting against that Sarah Trickshot. They're like, you know what? You are stronger in the early game. Let me go top and scale against this Cho'Gath that, isn't going to be able to really get on me.
Honestly, this has been the story for DYS for the last couple games, where they get ahead and like that sort of cockiness gets to their head, where they start disrespecting the opponent. If they backed off right when they got the turret, they would have been, they would have had a delta of 2 kills, 3-1, and the turret. Instead, they had a delta of 1 kill, 4-5, and well, they still come up with the turret, but they come up with a smaller lead, and more importantly, kills on the right people on BBC, which is a problem for them.
Yeah, Kazakhs being able to get back into the game after being, I was about to say, before that fight. Oh, here we go. A nice hook.
Yeah, Umbra is very tanky though. That W gives him like another 300 shield, but they keep on going. That is not enough damage. He's a tank god.
Zillion looking to come in if he had problems, but he says, nope, I'm fine. I think they can try this again though. Thresh has his ultimate still.
Thresh has his
Get
ultimate,
some
but there's
pot
no
shots.
change of corruption. There's nothing keep the Oh, Persia just gets jumped on completely.
And that's what I'm talking about. Kazakhs back into this
Probably
game.
kid will end up dying as well. That is Kazakhs back in the game. Oh.
Yeah, on that fight bot lane, I was about to say jungle difference because the Kazakhs, wasn't there for so long when that fight was just taking forever. But then he comes in, gets those couple of kills, and now he's a force to be reckoned with, and he can take down that Tristana, which is kind of the win condition for the side of DYS aside from Umbria. So if he can, take out that Tristana before Zillion can even get the ult off or anything, he's going to be a huge threat.
And here's the problem with the Zillion pick, because he has to play into Talia. Talia, you see, the Zillion wants to help his team. That's where Zillion shines, provide the utility for his team, but he can't leave mid lane because every single time the wave comes in, Talia gets a shove in. She can out roam him. She still has her TP out.
You say that, and it is technically a great point, but here's the Zillion making a roam over this Talia.
Yeah, let's see if he can make this work. The few seconds of... It's not even needed. Surgeon just ends up dying. That is just nasty. 6 and 2 Urgot.
Talia looking to join, but just a little too late. She had the wave cleared mid, so I'm surprised she didn't just look to either go top or bottom right away.
Definitely. Oh, that is a nice little jump onto Trundle. Ends up not doing any damage. Rift Sculler does go over to... Don't let him die though, so it's nice little boost to gold. Draconic wants to go and goes over Archenia, but yeah, the Kazakh's behind, but he's on the tank member. Who gets stun up, gets hit up, gets one last jump, it's enough. They try and go on to Elite Slayer, but it's not. That's a tanky Cho'Gath. Ooh, one last flash in for a kill, and as we turn back in bot lane, the Thresh ended up killing the Trundle, and now it's just up to the Thresh to clean up that.
Back and forth. A little ambitious by the Cho'Gath. Bit off a little more than he could chew, literally. Did get the return kill on the Karma, but has to burn the flash. Does get the exhaust, I guess, from Karma, but the Summoners back up for that bot lane, and they get the turret. Just putting more gold onto their team. BBC is only down by about 1k, so the game is anybody's at this point, especially with the Talia doing pretty well for herself with 2, 1, and 4. She's got 1.5 items, doesn't have completed boots, but she really needs to be looking to just make these roams all over, push the waves out, clear the minions, and then just look to help out this Varus and get her ahead, since she did so well in that second game.
The more this Talia sort of gets ahead, and the more this Varus gets ahead, the more that they can outscale and put pressure on their lane opponents where shiny.
Yeah, they've got a really nice kind of traditional comp. They've got the carry in the Varus, the carry in the mid lane, tank top. They've got a pretty aggressive jungler that can kind of trade his life 1-for-1 for the other carry. Whereas,
ooh, that's a nice little flash counter by Search. However, Bug in the back lane. Bug is forced to go out. Percy's still alive on half health. Dragon's still at the backside. Dragon finally goes down in the end. DYS have what they wanted. They're backing out now.
Yeah, and Cho'Gath, left alone on the top, looking to take this dragon, but Blue's kind of spotting it out. But they decide not to go check it, even after pinging it.
Now here comes the push on the mid lane, but this is not a good idea. Everybody's on half health. The Bug is...
Oh, Cho'Gath is taking this so slow. Not even close.
I don't even know if I want to watch this Cho'Gath do it. I'm just going to watch him in there. And Karma actually went up a little bit far. I guess she got hooked in. Now decides take a few more turret shots. They want this turret so bad, but the longer they stay, the worse it gets as the Shogath comes in.
He's
With
got the
with Herald in tow. Nice little knock up onto Percy and the knock up. OD Josh gets hit up by one last void spikes.
And Zillion did not have ult there.
His
Yeah,
ult was forced
nice
out.
of the Cho'Gath to decide, you know what, this is taking way too long. Let me go help mid.
That's the crucial times. Like, okay, Retro, just bye bye now. All right, knock up hits onto Percy once again. He just attracted these knockups left and right. Still alive somehow, questionably enough. All of VBC decide to turn towards Retro. This will definitely go faster than Cho'Gath.
And Cho'Gath says, "Hey guys, can you help me now?"
Like, team.
Cho'Gath, we're all mid.
All right.
And Talia
This
just
little
walling him
off,
off.
right?
They're gonna secure this, or at least
Good
try
little
to.
insurance for
Cho'Gath does have ultimate, so should go over, and he does not get it.
Yeah.
He says, "Man, I wish I could have had that stack." But they're gonna just give up this mid because they're all too low.
yeah, same as last time. I think it's
They
where
might give up the next turret as well.
they did convert the last time they got Rito, they did convert, but oh, here comes Bug. He is powerful, but he can't jump into 5. That
Yeah, not with Zillion ultimate up.
yeah, a good capitalization by DYS to just push it down.
You know, every time BBC makes this comeback and like does a great play, and then they make a mistake like that where, you know, they go for the Rift Herald, which they don't really need to while they're mid, then they lose 2 turrets for it, especially in the mid lane where you get, you know, from the mid is where you can kind of build your ward, you know, vision out and, you know, get vision into the jungle, use, you know, keep vision of your own jungle, I mean, when you've got those mid turrets, and now those are down and they don't have that advantage.
Oh man, I was just watching Tristana, you know, take down the wave, and she just one explosive charge, one auto attack, boom, it's like 10 minions gone. It's nice, you know.
There's that Infinity Edge.
It feels nice.
Whereas we've got Varus, looks like he's going a little more traditional, doing the Rage Blade into the Zeal.
Nice. Now this is a little bit different. Last game, Sarah Trickshot went Rage Blade into
Right.
the Nashor's Tooth, then into Runons. This time decides to go for the Runons first.
I guess she kind of is respecting that run at you comp and wants to be able to, you know, when the Trundle, when the Urgot, and everyone else is kind of coming at her, she wants to be able to hit everybody at once.
That's true. Also gives that little bit of move speed if it matters.
That's
Now-
yeah, all the extra kiting she can get, she needs, especially against this move. Ooh, and here we go, Death Push. Oh, with the nice control ward.
And here's the critical moment to see what Don't Let Me Die does with this Rift Herald.
I want to see them get a kill first. They still got 2 minutes left on it. So if they can get a kill anywhere and then 5-man with that Cho'Gath, Talia, Thresh, they've got a really good Rift Herald comp.
Worst comes to worst, they can just distract him to side lane. He drops a mid, takes down a mid turret.
Yeah,
I think that's at a minimum, that's what they should accomplish. If it
they
comes
need to
as
get
less than
at
that, then
least a
step
turret
forward.
for it because otherwise they're missing out. They lost 2 turrets for it. So
Definitely.
to gain that advantage back,
Now, Percy and Karmi Kid, unless they get Zillion ulted, they're at a point where they don't have enough defensive items that this Kha'Zix drops on them, dead in one rotation, no questions asked, you know?
as long as he can get off that burst before Zillion can ult them. But that's the other thing, you know, he can get caught with his pants down if he, you know, jumps in, burns everything on one of the carries, and then they, you know, give
Carry
him the Zillion ultimate and keep him alive.
Yeah, that'd be even worse. So, in the end, this Zillion's still a pretty good pickup, you know, against this hyper assassin. So we're back to the old, you know, split push ways of Umbria. So Elite Slayer doing a little bit different than a Hugh, rather than trying to match Urgot, trying to counter it instead of pushing in the top lane. Because he knows that's really not going to work if you try to fight against your...
Yeah, Urgot kind of just did a little loop. He went down to the river, back up and around the blue buff, comes back in, walks over the control ward that they spotted him out the whole time on.
Right.
Could have got
Might
some...
be a 44. They catch out Shredder and takes him down to half out. Nice low. And they catch out Percy, but nicely jump, and the ult is onto Percy as well. They take him down really up, but do not pop the Zillion ultimate. This is extremely crucial for BBC, and DYS says we're too low. Let's back off.
Yeah, and they
Umbria
both
still-
got an Ocean Drake, so they're gonna try to come back here. I'm surprised, you know, that the Trundle's got the banner of
Ooh, this is an
command
interesting
before the
way for
Shogun does.
Kha'Zix to channel the Rift Herald. And now they're walling it off the rest of the team. Kraven Kid has to just walk away, and this is an interesting Rift Road to say the least.
I think he ran out of time, and not
This
making
should
that
work out.
priority was unfortunate.
This
But
should
they
get
do,
a turn.
yeah, they do have the Tristana, you know, kind of low. I think they kind of just want to leave this at this point.
Yeah. However, I don't think they'll get the second turret. They'll get damage onto it, probably, but this won't.
Yeah, they
really-
might get a second charge off, which automatically does that 1500 damage.
Yeah, it's nice, you know, to get the extra damage on early.
Yeah, especially since that turret does not regen. And they
Alright.
get to move into the Inferno Drake. So with
Alright,
that
that's-
distraction, they move over, get control. They've got the Cho'Gath for the easy secure. Hopefully they give it over to him this time for that stack, and they do.
Yeah, very good rotation over by the side of BBC to just go from one objective to another, no breathing time.
Yeah, they're playing this really well from behind. Now they've caught up a little more, but I hope, you know, they can keep this
Yeah.
lead
Ooh,
going.
they
and play to the
Force the
full.
flash out action here, very good.
Yeah,
Umbria flashes in, misses the pull, however, but action here might just end up dying anyways. Percy jumps in, gets him 1, 2, 3, down he goes.
oh, she gets hit by the ultimate, but it's Trundle that gets her with his ultimate, I believe.
Yeah.
Subjugate.
Now it's interesting, they're still behind in gold, but if you factor in the Inferno, technically in stats they're slightly ahead. Small little thing.
Yeah,
but
and that's going to help with, since they've got, you know, the 3 carries essentially with the Kazakhs, Talaya, and Varus. That's going to help them a lot more than it would have helped.
watch, Percy is actually quite low. He's in the middle of his. Kazakhs is still running. He's trying to do so now. Does not get on the Percy and is forced to run out.
Oh, he's
Ultimate
forced
used for
to
nothing.
burn the ultimate.
Yeah. Or just
Oh, and Varus looking for something.
looking.
Looks like they're just
kinda-
going to have to seed over the Baron control. A couple camps while they're at it.
Yeah, we see a couple of control wards in the inventories of. Yeah, but they will have to back off at this point. Oh, they catch out. Don't let me die. Forced to jump out, and Dragonic. He wants to keep going. He just runs in. Does not have the ultimates, so that's Cho'Gath is tanky. Great low knockup onto OG Josh, and you can take him down really well. Ember is just in the middle. At least there flashes and gets the eat onto OG Josh, but that's not. Except don't let me die. It's the carry that they want. Everybody is dead except for Percy. Somehow the last one alive. I had no idea how Umbria died, but and yeah,
That's just where that comp comes in, you know. Talaya able to kind of wall them up, keep them away.
The Stern Baron
And,
Percy, he decides to stay. It shows himself a little bit too early. Really, really risky
There's
here.
nothing
Oh,
he can do. He just got he
almost
has to
just
get out.
grazed him. Little love tap almost. There's nothing that Percy can do. Yeah, has to run away before he just ends up dying. Period. Is it another Baron. I'm pretty sure BBC are like 3 for 3 when it comes.
And this is where that team comp comes in. You know, they're fighting in the jungle. Trundle tries to run in and, you know, catch people out, but Thresh is able to just say, you know what, we don't really want you here. Cho'Gath is able to knock some people up, and then Talaya is able to push people back and just do a huge amount of burst damage to the squishies on the side of DYS. So they're playing their comp really well. You know, letting DYS run at them, and then BBC kind of just pushes back
Now,
and pushes
here's-
back hard.
I can think of 2 things that if it was changed, DYS could have still won that fight. If Trundle had us up, you know, in an instant, Cho'Gath becomes a lot less tankier, Trundle becomes a lot more tankier. And if Trundle had a Zeke's convergence,
Yeah,
I think that Zeke's
interesting that he
convergence
went
was
with
really,
the
really
banner
good in
instead of the
first game.
Zeeks this game. You know, the other team.
oh, Don't Let Me Die catches out Umbria, but it's, you know, it's Zergo. And
Yeah.
in the end, like Don't Let Me Die, who ends up getting caught out by 3 members. That's what you said, getting caught with your pants down. He does not care about.
Just he's making those Warwick plays, but on a Kazakhs. Maybe thinking he could have got away, but he had multiple opportunities to say, you know what, maybe I'm in a little too deep. But continues to keep going.
Okay, now it is a bona fide 4v5. And Umbria's, and there's a chain corruption, and onto gets no knockup, and here comes the wall to try to keep him off the turret. Keeps nobody off the turret. In the end, that's what 3 ults blown for nothing from the side of BBC and DYS.
And they've got the Baron.
And they got the Baron, so maybe DYS respects that, decides to back
This
off.
is going to
after
be a
taking the
negative
turret.
Baron power play.
Ouch, man, just ouch.
Yeah. So Kha'Zix needs to realize that his target is Tristana, Karma, or Zillion. He's not looking to take down Dragonic. He's not looking to take down her Umbria. Yes, the Urgot is huge. Yes, you want to take him down, but try to look for those squishy targets, looking around to get behind, get that vision with his ultimate, because he's got that free, 1.5 seconds of invisibility. Yeah, when you've got Baron, you need to be with the team grouped up.
That's a really stutter reset from side of DYS, so now BBC have the first move on to turret. They would just get it for free.
Yeah, I think they thought, hey, let's try to clear some camps, and then we can get back out on the wave. But you need back out on the rift right away when the other team's got Baron. And they're looking to set up for this next Drake, which is a Cloud Drake. I personally really like the Cloud Drake for that in-combat movement speed and just being able to get around the map quickly. DYS did really well in that last play when they got that turret. They said, you know what, we're not going to take the bait and go in for these 5v5 fights. We're just going to push turrets. And that Cloud Drake's
just
going to
catch
help
percent
them.
here for free, and he does. Here. Bug, just that is dead 80 carry. Oh my god, here comes the jump. Hook does not hit on Crown Kid, but it doesn't matter. It's 45 out of the gate. The turret is down to 10% health, 5% health, 0% health.
Yeah, and Zillion, saves his ultimate. Tristana's just blown up before he can even get the click out.
Definitely.
Especially with that Kha'Zix. I think maybe he didn't see the Kha'Zix coming in with that cloak until it was too late.
Yeah, there was a Ocean Drake, and now that is a very early ultimate by OG. Redemption trying to reset the fight a little bit, and does for DYS.
Now
Turret as
Cho'Gath
well.
does have teleport, so
Sherman
he
is a
can
little
join
bit too
this fight
far
if
up.
he needs to.
Yeah.
Urgot
Cho'Gath
still
can just
has his
keep going.
ultimate, so if he can snipe. And it looks like they're just going to reset and go for the dragon.
DC
Wow.
wisely decided back up.
Cho'Gath just kind of slow pushes top lane. It's a good team call to not, engage too much and just let the Cho'Gath keep going.
I really want to see Percy get back to what he was in the first game. Now he has 3. He is massive on this Tristana at this point. And if he just doesn't get caught out like that, like he just did, he'll be able to output tons of damage.
Yeah, his 3-item spike is a little different than the Varus' 3-item spike. Varus is going to be taking out, Umbria and Trundle really fast. But Tristana is going to be able to blow up any of those squishies that she can get her hands on. Meanwhile, Cho'Gath has 10 stacks. He's got his minion stacks already. He's just looking at champions and objectives to get even tankier. And while the Tristana, is going to do a lot of damage to him, he's got that Randuin's Omen. And he's going to be able to soak a lot of damage from the enemy team. If he gets a Warmogs pretty soon, he's going to be almost unkillable when they only have that one carry to really shred him down. Zillion's not much of a shred. He's more of a, kind of burst mage almost, or more utility to keep the Tristana alive. But they don't have a lot to block that Cho'Gath from running in. I'm surprised Cho'Gath went for Deadman's instead of Righteous Glory, an item that is very strong on him, almost core.
I don't really see Deadman's on Cho'Gath.
Yeah, I guess he thought I want to run at them faster,
Tripops on Umbria, and he slowed down, jukes out the hook and the rest of the damage.
Looks like he just walks away from that one free.
DYS will try and turn, but this is very risky here. However, Talia's back in base, has the teleport to come if she needs to. I think here
Looks
Victoria
like she's gonna dance away.
Now here's something interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
After these first 3 items we see on Varus, that is a needlessly large rod. That's telling us that this Varus is on hit build going for the AP Varus build.
Yep, he's going for Rabadons.
Yeah.
And it is actually it's one of his strongest builds right now, 60% when he gets the Rabadon. So definitely fully committed to that. They've got the Kha'Zix doing AD. I want to see an adaptive helm on Urgot and on Trundle as well.
They caught out that bug. Oh, not the bug, the 80 carry. However, the Fear Beyond Death does not hit. Bug in backline, trying to take down Carbon Kid. Carbon Kid has the ultimate on him, so there's no taking down. However, that Cho'Gath's just in front line. He is beastly up there. Percy doing what he can to take good damage, but it's too little, too late. Bug taking
Here
down.
we go. Don't let me die.
And that is a 3-for-0. Just no damage follow-up onto... Yeah, they took down the Varus down to 10% health, but that Fear Beyond Death missed. And one can just imagine what would have happened if that ultimate hit. How this team fight would.
And
been
that's the
completely
other
different.
thing about the side of BBC is that even if they lose that carry in the Varus, Talaya and Kha'Zix are both able to dish out a lot of damage.
Oh, for
so,
sure.
Kha'Zix going in, making Zillion burn the ultimate on Karma, who is their support. I think Zillion just needs to save that ultimate for Tristana or himself, no matter what. Even if Karma goes in and dies to the Kha'Zix, let it happen. Keep this Tristana alive because she's their only hope.
Yeah.
And that's really the problem with Zillion comps, is that you're giving up a lot of that mid lane damage and priority. But I think they just thought, you know what, Talaya, the side of Arcanir is just the stronger mid laner. Let's keep him on this pick that can keep the team alive and put Umbria on these really strong top laners.
Look at this. I think Umbria's going into a death stance next. The bug jumps in, but finds nobody. Now here comes Umbria. Barely misses the 80 carry. And looks for the Fear Beyond Death. Gets it and resurrects the OG Josh. I don't know if he can still proc. Oof. Doesn't matter. Still dead from the bomb. Comes the teleport down from Arcanir. Now DYS have to run for their lives. A great two-man knockup. Percy channels the jump perfectly, but Umbria is left out dry. Gets a perfect little dash, and the mantra up shield makes everybody run away. Shows that the karma is good for going in and going out.
Yeah, they're all weak, but they got the kill on Sarah, who got pillared up. It was a great pillar by Trundle to keep her from getting away. She does get the lantern from Thresh, but the bomb follows. So we're talking about Zillion not doing much damage, and he pops him through the Thresh shield.
However, 45 BBC can still keep up this push. They have the Baron buff still. As you said, even if the Varus dies, you still have 2 more carries. You're definitely looking for this top tower. DYS have to make their stand here. This 45 is the best chance they're going to get right now.
Yeah, especially with the Kha'Zix in the back of the base, but they don't know that necessarily.
They have to go now or never when this Urgot joins. They have all their ultimates up safe for Subjugate, which comes up soon enough. Here comes Umbria, gets knocked away nicely, Dragon, and gets silenced. Trying to do what he can, but he gets knocked up. They do not want this Toronto to go in at all. Gets slowed down, gets silenced, get knocked up, whatever you want. However you want it. Don't let me die goes on to Umbria. Umbria knocks himself out. Now they pushed it a little bit too far. Spheres has time to come back. Now DYS has to make the retreat. They are all low from the poke that they take. Don't let anybody is going in, tries to get somebody down, and takes down Don't Cry Me Kid. Has the once again the ultimate on the support. This might not be the best idea. Umbria goes down, support still goes down. And here comes the push from BBC. This might be the last push of the game. 2 members down for just the Kha'Zix, and knockup lands on Tricana. Tricana puts down pillar, breaks himself alive, and Surge shot, and Archer just free fine. That's fine. Turret goes down. Inhibitor turret goes down. Inhibitor follows soon. And
wow.
We're just gonna keep pushing.
And that's it. They're able to last out that engage. The Trundle goes a little too deep. The Cho'Gath able to
anymore. He's too squishy.
Kind of just zone them out. Lots of zoning is what's winning in this game. They come in with a really strong push on the side of DYS, and then the fight is able to go on long enough that they can keep them away, continue pushing them back, and then rejoin the fight once they've, gotten their feet back under them.
Now as this Varus finished, the Rabadon's just honestly a menace. Anywhere you go, Elite Slayer, and that is a really, really early ultimate to the Trundle. I think he was afraid of a feat, but that's a tanky Trundle. He's beyond the feast threshold limits.
Oh wow, he pulled him over the Talaya wall.
Pulled him over the Talaya wall and is dead. Umbria's on the other side of the wall, just messing around. The Outer Dragon is aggro, and Amber is just taken down. That is a scary Varus.
What was that?
A nice little blast cone take the Varus over wall. Thank you very much. As we take this free.
This is BBC's game to lose at this point. I mean,
Definitely.
DYS are just holding on by their, just threads.
Definitely threads.
The Cho'Gath, the Kha'Zix, the Talaya, they're all so far ahead. This Varus just, it's showing why the Urgot is not popularly picked in 5v5 play. Even though he had that huge lead, he's not quite the split pusher that the Nasus was. And just gets absolutely taken out by this Varus. I mean, that damage was disgusting. He did half of his health when he corrupted the blight.
Varus runs out his build with the Banshee's build just so nobody can catch him out by accident. Now this is what I want to focus on. I want to see this full 6-item Varus just to shred through everything and anything that comes at him. 6-item Varus versus 4.5-item Tristana.
It's going to be quite entertaining once he starts doing that damage. And here we go.
Not a little bit too far for a ward. This might just be dangerous. Force to flash out. Now this might be a last push coming in here.
You know, and I mentioned that the Cho'Gath didn't get Righteous Glory, but I wonder if the reason why is because he just wants to be this huge meat shield, and the other team has this run-at-you comp. And maybe he can just kind of, sit back and get them when they come in.
Definitely, it is possible, however he did. Doesn't really regenerate very fast, but oh my god, that never went down so fast. Down double super minions in all lanes, 6 super minions per lane, per wave. I think the minions could probably just win the game at this point.
Yeah, that's what they. Here we go.
I'm gonna try to do what he can. The third time, not the charm, and Surge are actually getting taken by the crit. Forced to jump out, and here comes those Zeke's convergence crits doing a ton of damage, forcing BBUC to reconsider. However, the Zeke's convergence has timed out, and on the next wave they can just come back. That's, an Ocean Dragon with Elder buff. Just heal it all.
Yeah, it looks like they're making one more push. I'm surprised they decided, let's just go get the Baron, safely end while the inhibs are down. Looks like they just want to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, see, this is the thing of what I was talking about. If we had war, there'd just be a lot more to work with. And now that is a hook onto Arcaneer with followed by Chain Corruption. Oh my god.
Damage is disgusting.
Alright, just keep your eyes on the Varus here. There's a hook onto Umbria. Just 1-shot, 2-shot. The ultimate is onto the Umbria. However,
she is huge right now.
Huge. Just look at that.
She's got to be having a blast. Escalade just says, you know what, no, you guys can't come. We're just going to end the game.
That Varus controls who lives and who dies. Oh, one last snipe for a double kill, and that will be the series. 2-1 over to Barnacle Boys Club.
And, no discussion. The MVP goes to Sarah Trickshot for sure this time. And, I really appreciate Don't Let Me Die. After that rough start, able to climb back in it. Ends 90 farm above the Trundle. So much gold. Really made a lot of great picks, but the Sarah Trickshot just, absolute poise and able to keep her team alive. Though she only ended with 13 kill participation, whereas this Thresh has 22. Shredderman put on a clinic on Thresh. Even though he wasn't getting those hooks in the beginning, he made big plays in keeping DYS from charging onto his Varus and kept his carry alive.
Yeah, very good play all around. Now,
all right.
To further break down that game and this for our analyst, and that means that will do it for us. Me and Jay Gecko here on the cast.
All right. Have a good night, Twitch. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for the final time tonight to our Risen Esports Dominate Analyst Desk. I'm still returned. This is still Kaochin, and this is still Dylan. And I mean, if you thought Game 2 was a head scratcher, Game 3, whew, you could just hear the fiesta going on.
Yeah, that was insane. The early game, so many kills, so many back and forth fights. I mean, that was just oh god, I'm out of words to describe that one.
Yeah, I can definitely not blame you. I mean, looking back at how this entire game went, starting in the early game, it felt like just a rerun of what we saw before, with the only exception finally being Don't Let Me Die standing up to one of those early invades. But, I mean, Umbria had a great early game in the top lane. And then mid and bot lane were just won out pretty decisively, I'd have to say, by BBC.
Yeah, it really makes...
No, you go. No, you.
I didn't like the way the Tristana lane turned out in the second game. I did like that they switched to the Karma because the Karma did work in the first game, and the Karma did look good on it. But the Tristana wasn't working out and wasn't in the cards for him today.
Yeah, it lends yourself to the question: why pick Tristana when Varus is up? Why pick Karma if Nami's up? I mean, there are all these comfort champions for them, all these champions that they should feel confident on, and
Oh, no.
it just didn't really make any sense. It didn't make any sense to me.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering really why we're looking at the Varus versus Tristana matchup that much, just look at those damage charts. Over 40,000 damage. Actually, wait, that's not even the Varus. I thought Varus did far more, but no, that was Archineer really pulling his
Oh,
weight
yeah.
on this matchup. But let's get back to kind of some conversation we were having before this match. Elite Slayer coming in for his first game in the top lane up against Umbria in the top lane. Just have such a decisive, such a dominating performance yet so far this series, but he did pretty well for himself.
Yeah, I think Elite Slayer did really well. The lane didn't go quite in his favor, but that's almost to be expected against the Urgot. You had Dragona paying his attention to the top lane as he was over the last couple of games, but it was when it came to the team fights that the Cho'Gath pick really came up huge. I don't think for the last 10-15 minutes of the game I saw Rupture whiff on all the members of DYS.
Yeah, Cho'Gath definitely pulled his way towards the later portions of the game. Although the early game, certainly he did get pretty exploited by Draconic and Umbria up in the top lane.
Yeah, and I do feel some amount of apology does have to be sent down towards that bottom lane support position. I mean, we predicted before the game that, there's no way they're going to put the silver support main on the Thresh, but all in all, he held his own.
Yeah,
impressive.
It was a very well performed lane by Sarah and Shredderman in the bot lane. It just outperformed the opposition. That's all there is.
Always great to see, and we'll keep this one short and sweet. If you had to go for the man of the match, the player of the game, MVP of this performance, who is it going to be?
Me, personally, I got to throw it back to Sarah Trickshot for the second time this series. I think that although the damage charts don't fully prove it, I feel like she was just pumping out damage in that game. She had a few missed Varus ults, but for the most part, her Varus ults were on point, hitting the targets she wanted to hit, spreading, and she was just dealing a lot of damage, especially at the front line. Those fights, she was melting through Trundle, melting through Urgot. Whoever she was hitting was just dying instantly.
Yeah, and that's a good point for me because this was an AP Varus. It's not your granddaddy's old AD. You do so much more damage. The big thing for me also was Unera up in the top lane didn't build any sort of magic resist. That felt like a huge letdown because he got into fights and all of a sudden he just got blown up by the duo AP carry. But Sarah having an absolutely outstanding performance. Great performance not only in game number 2 but also game number 3. And now over to you, Kyochin. Who do you think should be awarded this one?
I would love to say that Shredderman gets my vote, but it would have to go to the Cho'Gath in the top lane. He had the rough lane phase, and sure, that's an argument maybe against him, but he took a rough lane phase. He didn't tilt. He was calm. He went into the late game, and he was exactly what his team needed. He was walking forward. He was making the clean initiations, knocking up multiple members with each Q, and it was really impressive to see him on the front line.
Yeah, and once again, sorry, that is Umbria in the top lane, not even Terra. We aren't, in fact, unfortunately, covering competitive professional League of Legends, but he had a standout performance, but just couldn't pull it away all the way through towards the end. Personally, to break the tie here, I would have to go with Sarah. I am going to switch sides here of the debate. I think Sarah really did, not only in Game 2 had an outstanding performance, Game 3 came through with the damage, had a great lane with Shredder, and really was the reason they shut down. There's no real way in my mind that BBC actually wins that game out unless they're able to draw pressure on the bottom side with just what Umbria is doing in the top lane, and they get that done game after game. And by the power of math, I do believe that makes Sarah our player of the series. So congratulations over to her. And congratulations over to a very successful BBC Barnacle Boy club. They will improve to 2-0 on the season, whereas DYS, they're still going to be in the hunt for that first victory.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a solid series played from Sarah. Very enjoyable to watch. It was insane throughout. All 3 games really were up in the air until the final parts of the game, and it just made it really, really fun and interesting to watch.
I would say that DYS is definitely not out of the running yet. We saw the success they could have when they played to their strengths, and their strengths are very pronounced. And I do believe that if they're successfully able to continually add to that, then they can become a really strong team.
All right, guys. Well, that has been it for our coverage of the Rampage Dominate series here. Week number 2 is over. I've been returned. It's been Dylan. This has been KO Chin, and of course our glorious casters as well. Thank you guys all. If you want to follow us more, check down below at their important links where you'll find our website, Discord, Reddit, YouTube, and Twitter, so you can stay up to date with all the happenings of the Arisen Esports League. But until then, guys, catch you guys around. I've been returned. This has been the Rest of the Desk, and see you guys next time.
Is the gold, is even right now, but